Hi, and welcome back to the final stop on the World Aquatic Open Water Swimming Cup in Golfo Aranci. We're on stop 4. Just had a fantastic race with the men earlier in the 10 kilometers, seeing David Bethlehem from Hungary take home that win. And now we are moving on to the women's 10K, and it's going to be a very, very exciting race. We have 47 fantastic competitors, all vying for the opportunity to become a World Cup winner. And we're seeing the crowd standing here cheering them out. It's looking good, it's looking positive. The weather conditions have died down a little bit. We saw in the middle of the men's race a really, really hectic 10 kilometers with wind and rain and some really adverse swimming conditions. Looks like it's calmed down a lot now. You can see the sun starting to come out, you can see some blue sky, and it is shaping up to be a fantastic women's 10. Getting ready for the start, we have some really, really exciting competitors, as well as the opportunity to take home 50,000 US dollars with the win of the World Cup Series for this year. It's the final stop of the leg. We have raced in Soma Bay, Ibiza, and Setúbal, and it has been a very, very exciting series of racing this year. We're seeing the women's lead at the moment with Ginevra Taddeucci of Italy, and then Angelina Martinez Gullion of Spain, and then rounding out the podium for that is Moesha Johnson, who was just recently crowned world champion. We have some good conditions. It's cloudy, it's flat. The water is 22 degrees Celsius, and the swimmers, this is always one of the favorite stops for the swimmers. Always a fantastic place for them to get in to race. We see a strong Italian contingent come out as always. Just seeing one of the Italian swimmers walk out now, followed by a swimmer of Chinese Taipei, hoping to recreate some of the spectacular swims that we have seen from them already with one of their swimmers in Cho. And it's really looking to be a good, strong field of racing. It's 6 laps to complete. You have 47 athletes representing a number of nations from across the world. The World Cup we have seen growing and growing year on year, getting more and more competitive. I myself was a swimmer at this level, and I can tell you it is tough, it is challenging, but it is enjoyable. There is a real fun and a real excitement to it. So you're seeing these athletes walk out now. They're looking set, they're looking ready, they've got their accreditations in hand, and looking to be a really, really good race. The main ones that we'll be looking towards today are Moesha Johnson, recently crowned world champion in the 10K just in Singapore just 2 months ago, and really had a great showing there from her, becoming a world champion for the first time, and she's looking to take home the World Cup Series win. And we will get into this later on. We will have these discussions, but it's tight. It is very tight at the top for the women's for this, and on the line is 50,000 US dollars. We're seeing a number of the athletes come out now, and it's looking that there's some tension in the air. We've seen a smile from one of the swimmers from Brazil there. It's always really quite challenging doing this, walking out. It's a long walk down to the pontoon. You've got so many emotions wrapped up in you, a bit unsure about how you feel, what you're doing, and you just need to lock in and really think about, I'm here to race, I've got my tactics, I've done all the preparation, I've done all the training, and I'm ready to make this happen. We have a beautiful setting here today in Golfo Aranci, 22 degrees in the water, perfect swimming temperature for the athletes, and can really bring in some competitive and strong as well as fast swimming, which we definitely saw with the men's race. 47 athletes to take the lineup for the women's race today, and we are seeing some of the top names of our field being led out now. We have representing Brazil, Ana Marcela Cunha, literally one of the best swimmers we have ever seen in this event. 81 World and World Cup medals. She has she's been on the podium every year in a World Cup series since 2009. She hasn't podiumed yet this year, so we're really vying for this for her. I'm really hoping she can make that happen and continue another streak. She was the series winner back in 2024, but alongside her, we have some other fantastic racers. You can see Celine Rieder of Germany walking out now. She's had a very good, a very strong year. Unable to swim at the World Championships because of the competition that Germany has, but however, still a really, really strong competitor. We see Lisa Poo of Monaco, um, bronze medalist in the 10K in Singapore, just gone. Really great showing from her. First time breaking onto that podium. Got Leah Boy, 3K knockout winner from Ibiza. Really broke onto the scene in terms of the podium last year. Towards the end of the year, and she's been having a great season so far. We've got Caroline Juice of France, is currently sitting fourth in the women's overall series lead. She is a good, strong racer, coming down from the 25K actually initially a couple of years back once that kind of got phased out at the world level. But she's put on a great showing. And here we have Angela Martinez Gullion of Spain. I won Ibiza in the 10K in our home crowd, and is currently sitting second on the women's series lead. Here we see one of our favourites, Ginevra Taddeucci of Italy, currently sitting first on that leaderboard, and she is so good at getting on the podium. She gets on the feet of the woman you are just seeing walk out now, Moesha Johnson, reigning world champion in the 10K, currently sitting third in the overall rankings, but she hasn't lost a race in a year. Literally hasn't lost a race in a year. So we are looking towards her to be that leader and to be the one taking out the speed. But here you see the start list of the women's 10, representing a number of different nations. Mariah Denigan back in there, and it's looking to shape up to be something quite special, isn't it, Will?
Yeah, it's such a star-studded field. We talked about it pre-show, Alice. The women's 10 kilometers might have the top 30 depth that we saw in the men's race, but that top 10 is as fierce and fast as we've ever seen. And as even if we go through to the last page there, Brooke Travis of the USA highlighting alongside Barbara Pozobon. But Alice, such a special show we're in for.
Yes, definitely. I saw the athletes walking out and they looked happy, positive, locked in and focused. So, I think we're going to have a really great showing today. And there's a lot on the line for each of these athletes, but we will definitely get into that. And we've got time to get into that too.
How good. So here we are for the final time. The referee's flag is up. The women's 10-kilometer title on the line. The fourth and final stop of the Open Water Swimming World Cup here in Golfo Aranci. And we are away for the final time in season 2025. Who will be crowned the eventual champion? We'll find out very shortly. And Alice, we're also on watch here. There is the potential that we might see Moesha Johnson gone from the very start.
It'd be interesting to see if she does it. I'd love to get into the mind and know her tactics of what she's planning to do. At the moment, we're currently seeing the Spanish caps taking it out. We've got the USA cap with the strapping on it. So that is thank you very much for that. It's very easy to pick out and know who that is. I believe that might be Mariah Denigan or potentially get the number 146. I'll double check that. But great to see a cap that's very noticeable. But also just want to shout out real quick. I don't know if anyone spotted it at the start, but a few athletes waited for the start to go and then jumped in and dived in afterwards, probably about 2 or 3 seconds back. And that's a tactic where you're just kind of happy to let the front go, happy to let the pace hit up, and then you take up some space at the back and kind of work your way forward. So we have got the sprint lap, we have got the money lap. There's $1,000 on the line, and we're seeing a French and American swimmer take it out now. I believe that is Mariah Denigan of America.
Such an interesting way to start the race. And Alice, I think you broke it down perfectly earlier in the pre-shows. We see Delacroix and Denigan battle at the front there. Brooke Travis wearing that pink tape on her cap. So what the race could look like here is really anyone's guess. But the different tactics that we can see, what what the battle we're expecting to see essentially is Moesha Johnson having to win the race and hoping not to have Ginevra Taddeucci sitting in the mix on that final sprint. And I guess, Alice, that could happen in a number of ways. It could be in these opening laps. It could be, as we've seen in the last couple races at that 6K mark. But ultimately, the way that you broke it down and the way that I think makes most sense is ultimately a sprint finish potentially for Moesha Johnson.
Yes, yes, potentially. It's one of those things where if Marisha does what she's always done over the past few races, she'll most likely get the result of Ginevra Taddeucci, set on her feet, coming in second, and that would literally hand Taddeucci the overall series lead. Marisha Johnson would literally kind of have to hand her that 50,000 US dollars, and Johnson settling potentially for second place with $30,000. So I think she has to mix it up. I think she has to break the pattern. She has to try something new. And that might be we see Marisha Johnson sit back for a much longer period than she would typically want to or feel comfortable for. She's very good at utilizing those opportunities where athletes make mistakes are made at the front, and then she kind of punches around and gets around them and opens up a gap in seconds. But Ginevra is always quick to find it, quick to spot it, and gets herself into second position off the feet of Moesha. So, hey, I don't know. It's really tough. It will all play out as it will inevitably will, but honestly, I cannot predict how this race will go. We've typically have been able to predict how it goes, and apologies, I did get called the wrong name of the swimmer there. We see McKenna of America up at the front there, a name which I haven't seen before. So fantastic showing from her, and this is what it's all about. This is what the first lap is quite exciting for. It's if you've got that pool speed, you've got that opportunity, get in, make something happen for yourself. You can come away with $1,000.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all on the line if you can commit early, and we saw that happen in the men's race as well with Puskovic out in front leading the way. The USA not afraid of committing to the race early, and I guess one of the things that we often overlook as actually we see Taddeucci now moving into contention on the inside of the course, just behind the lead swimmer here from the USA. One of the things that we haven't necessarily spent much time discussing this year, Alice, is the women's race is very physical when you're sitting in the pack. And, we've spoken to Moesha off air about her race tactics, not necessarily playing into that, but she does like to sit away, sit separate from the field, and that enables her to control the pace. Actually, now getting confirmation you were correct earlier, Mariah Denigan leads the way for the USA. But Alice, I guess, how would that impact a swimmer like Moesha, who does like to swim in her own water, if she just has to sit back for a lot longer than she's expecting today? That can maybe even take a bit of an emotional toll on Johnson.
Yeah, it's difficult because it's one thing sitting back and accepting that you potentially have to go through that race strategy, but then also knowing you are placing all of the pressure at the end of the race. You have to make it happen in those final moments. There's no room for error at that point. But at the same time, I would kind of love to see Moesha try that at some point. Maybe today's not the day. Maybe she doesn't want to take that risk. But at some point, if we're looking towards LA and potentially being, at the moment, the favourite to win LA potentially, is I'd love to see her try something different. We've seen that with Florian Walbrock. Typically, we wouldn't see Florian get into, big, wavy, choppy waters. But this season, and maybe this season, we have seen him, have to take on those moments, have to really put himself in positions that he wouldn't necessarily want to. We saw that back in Soma Bay, where the water's not as flat as it is here. It was more challenging in that way. And I was watching it, and he took home that win, and I was kind of like, oh, this is quite dangerous for the rest of the field when Florian Walbrock decides and trusts in his ability to be able to swim like that. And I think we could potentially see that happen to Moesha. If she can add another tactic to her arsenal of open water swimming opportunities, then who knows what that means for this, because she's already dominating it. But if she can find another way of being able to dominate the race, whether that's sitting in the pack and then punching through, who knows what that can mean for the future of women's swimming.
Yeah, it's a scary prospect, and I guess that's what is on the line here. Is we really don't know how Moish is going to handle this race. It's certainly setting up differently to what she would have expected to do, and certainly different to what Coach Burns been able to produce in years past. That sprint finish, not necessarily something that they've chased, but I'm sure Coach Burn is absolutely methodical, so they would have been training for it. But talk about seeing something that is consistent. Taddeucci really not wanting to leave anything to chance. We've seen this time and time again through the women's race this season, and similar to the men's race, especially in that sprint lap. Marc-Antoine Olivier wanting to control the pace, and here it is, Gennaro Taddeucci of Italy leading out this race. And Alice is almost, if Moesha's not going to do it, Taddeucci looking like she wants to take the reins and the race run through her, as she deserves to be as our current leader.
Definitely. Def, Taxes, and Taddeucci at the front of the women's race. It's just something we expect to see from her. She's been putting down this effort for a while, like her and typically Lisa Poo up at the front, charging for that money lap, and kind of back when it was like lap 1, 3, and 5, kind of pulsing forward and back, to take that win in terms of getting the money lap and getting the sprint laps in. But I'm not surprised. No, she's not going. She knows how she wants to race the race. She is very grateful for Moesha Johnson and what she does for the women's race. She wants the speed at the front. Taddeucci, she trains like that. She'll be putting in so many hours each week with that pull paddle work, making strong and robust to be able to cope with the amount of pressure that has to go through them. She has an incredibly high stroke rate, and she can maintain it. She can't necessarily take it up to that next top speed gear where you can move from a 64 pace to a 62 pace, or even a 60 pace as Sharon Van Roendel was able to. But Ginevra's strength is her endurance, her strength, endurance, and making it happen at the front and kind of starving the race of oxygen. So she's looking to do that now. She's not taking any chances on relying on Moesha to do that in these moments. She wants to be at the front, so she's going to make that happen. And if Moesha so happens to be there, then she'll take that opportunity too.
It's an exceptional point again, Alice. I mean, we often overcomplicate what open water racing is, but when you put it like that, the 10K is essentially just maximizing your strengths and minimizing your weaknesses, and the swimmer that's able to do that best is the champion, really. So a tactic like we're seeing from Ginevra at the moment is ultimately playing to her strengths.
Yes, that is such a good way of putting it. Thank you. Yeah, so every swimmer has a weakness, right? Like, it's a fact. You will see every swimmer have something that's just not their strongest point, and it might be somebody else's strongest point. And it's knowing your competitors. It's knowing what their strongest points are, where they punch through, where they start to make a difference. Looking at the standings, looking at the stats, and being like, okay, well, this swimmer was in 15th place in lap 3, but then all of a sudden he's 3rd on the final lap, and I'm struggling to get past him. What happened in that gap? Where is he making up this time? Where is she making up this time? And it is about mitigating your weaknesses as much as possible, just closing those doors as much. It might not even necessarily be training them to make them a strength. It's just sometimes being aware of them and knowing your blind spots and making sure that they're covered. But we're really seeing Ginevra put out a fantastic effort here. She's created some clear water behind her.
And I guess on that note, Alice, we've talked almost endlessly the last week about how Moesha could approach this race and potentially going off the line. What we're seeing here from Ginevra is the commitment to that race. Do you think there's any threat that Taddeucci is able to pull away from the very start and hold on for the win?
I've never seen it done with a women's race. I'm not sure. I'd love to see it happen. I think if any athlete was going to be able to do it, I think it probably would be someone like a Taddeucci with the strong, high cadence. I mean, if you get in and train for it and you try and make that happen, you can try and execute it in the race. But I think with the women's race, it's just that little bit more challenging. haven't got the same strength as the men potentially in that way, and it's yeah, I don't know. What do you think? It's tough. I've just never seen it happen with the women, so I'm reluctant to say that this is the day that we're going to view it. But hey, we are. It's open water swimming, so we could be wrong, and sometimes we are wrong.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, that's exactly what we saw in the men's race.
Obbligatorio verso il lato di fronte alla costa, questo vuol dire che sta iniziando l'ultimo tratto in chiusura di questo primo giro. Ricordiamo giro sprint lap che prevede un premio in denaro per la top 3, la prima atleta classificata si aggiudica $1.000.
So we'll be able to almost tell instantly after the conclusion of the first lap. So I think we'll see the intent from Ginevra as soon as they finish lap one. If she does roll onto her back, which we've seen in previous races, then we'll be able to tell. But I think the pack will be keeping an eye on that as well. There's almost an idea from the pack that you know, Taddeucci is going to commit to this race hard, and if they see her continue to charge through the feeding pontoon, then they'll know the race has started.
Yeah, that's certainly the point. You know, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, I know what's happening at the front. I can see that she's out in front. This is typical for her. Let's control it. Let's see what happens. I'm sure Marisha will be sat within there. It can be so challenging to see who's up in front of you at certain points, but a swimmer like Marisha, with her experience, should be aware of what is happening, might not realize the gap is as big as it is, and then might seek to close that. But you're so right about the feeding station. That's a real good sense check for everybody to know, you know, what is happening, what's going on, who's leading, how much of a gap have they got, and do we need to panic? That will be the point where athletes will be able to be like, oh, okay, wait, this isn't actually slowing down. I need to bridge this gap. But at that point, Ginevra might have opened up something which potentially could be unbridgeable. I'm reluctant to say it definitely will be, just because I know how open water works. You know, it ebbs and it flows. It's really hard to sustain an effort like this for a full 10K. But if that's what she's been training for and this is what she wants to execute, then I'm really rooting for her to make it happen.
And the beauty is we won't have to wait too long to see exactly the intent of the Italian that leads the race. Ginevra Taddeucci has been simply sensational this year and really carrying on some fine form from last year, where she, of course, claimed bronze in the women's 10 kilometers at the Paris Olympic Games. But she doesn't look like she's showing any signs of slowing down. And at this point, it gets pretty interesting for Denigan, who currently sits in second for the USA. She has a choice to make. Does she commit to ultimately what is the second lead of the race, or does she give it up for someone that's going to have a bit more on the line, like Moesha Johnson? I mean, ultimately, depends how many friends Johnson's made in the field to see how many people are going to be willing to help her at this point in the series. But certainly, at least the opening 1600 meters, we're seeing Ginevra Taddeucci really commit hard. And Alice, it's interesting because at this point, Ginevra would certainly know that she is in a league of her own, really opening up quite a substantial gap. She doesn't need to work that hard to win this sprint lap, yet she's continuing to put the pace down.
Yes, that's so true. You know, she'll be aware of the gap she's created, and she could definitely knock it off a little bit and enjoy the fruits of her labor, then let the pack come back, find somebody's feet, and then sit in second or third position. But she's not doing that, which I think does indicate her intent for the race. She doesn't want to leave anything to chance. She knows what her strength is. She knows her strength is getting in, having the hard meters and making it happen. And if Moesha Johnson's not going to be there with her, then she's like, hey, I'm still going to get out and do it. Like, this is how I am going to race. And if you want to come and take the lead from me, you're going to have to like prize it from my hands. So I feel like I had my own blind spot with this leaderboard because I was kind of so wrapped up with what Moesha would do. I didn't really give any credit to what Ginevra would do. And this makes perfect sense. this is exactly what she should do. Don't risk it. Make Moesha Johnson have to come round you, and even if she comes round you, you still have space. You just have to come second, and you know how to come second to Moesha Johnson. That's what you've been doing all season. So, yeah, no, this is really smart racing from Ginevra. It's tough, it's challenging. Haven't seen it done before in a women's race, but I love that she's given it a go. This is really exciting.
It's I honestly haven't really seen it done in the men's race either in these sort of conditions. Like, we usually see this done in the warmer Asian climates. Like, we've seen Florian Wilbrock commit to a race like he did in Tokyo, where basically from the first stroke he went to the front and wasn't caught all the way around the race. But here it is, Taddeucci choosing on the opening straight of this race to move to the front and pull away from Denigan. And ultimately, I think now it may be even Leah Boy that leads the charge in second. But we keep an eye. I think Moesha is sitting way back on the inside of the course, just ahead of that yellow cap there. So again, we still wait, we hold our breath, because we've seen Taddeucci commit to this first lap, and as soon as the first lap's done, roll onto her back. But this looks much more deliberate, and as you said, Alice, potentially, you know, we've overlooked the alarming thing here is, like, this is ultimately the same as it was for Marc-Antoine Olivier. It is Taddeucci's to lose.
Wow. Sorry, I'm just taking in that gap. That is a gap. Like, wow. I don't know if anybody's aware of this. This is what I'm concerned by. I don't know if the pack are super aware of how big this gap is, or Mariah Denigan definitely is. She'll be able to spot it, but behind that, it is really challenging. And you might think you know where the front is, but you don't. And I've heard stories of that happening before. So hey, I mean, that gap is growing as well. If Ginevra is aware of the fact this gap is growing and she wants to continue moving through, be really interesting to see if she grabs a feed here or just keeps ploughing through and opens this door. But yeah, I think got Leah Boy sat in behind the feet of Mariah Denigan, and I don't think the rest of the field are aware of what Ginevra has done.
Well, I don't think Mariah is actually swimming with the intent of chasing that gap either. She's just really happy to continue the pace that she's swimming out in front, and almost like inviting someone else to come and take the lead if they want it. You can see that with the way that her stroke has developed there. There's not a whole heap of, all right, we need to work together to chase this down. And as you said, it is a substantial gap, but Ginevra now coming down to take a feed. That's a very smart move. It would be a long race if she didn't stop here, but she'll turn. Oh, that's a slow feed.
Oh yeah, she's just stopped. Wow, yeah, no, wow. She's just said, oh, okay, I've done she's taken a good 20-second rest there, maybe, potentially. A gap of 13 seconds. She knew she had time to play with, but, she's turned around, looked, yeah, so that is impressive. That, I'm in awe of that. That is really special, isn't it, Will?
It's impressive, but I really question the motive of that. You've committed a lot of effort in that first lap to separate yourself, and now you've just opened the door back to the rest of the pack. And that's why Denigan wasn't swimming with the intent to chase it down, because she ultimately knew that she didn't have to until this point of the race. So Taddeucci, sensational first lap. Really good to see the firepower that she carries through, but ultimately a lot of energy has been poured into that opening lap. And we keep an eye on this top 10 now. Pooh in there, currently 9th for Monaco. We'll talk about the year that she's had shortly. Tarsiewicz as well for Poland in the top 10. Vivian Jongblut currently sitting in 11th. Milhavari Varkas of Hungary in 12th. Juiz in 13th. So all the big names are now within touch and in certainly sitting comfortably. So impressive show of speed from Ginevra Taddeucci, and I hope the home crowd got up and about for what that meant for Italian swimming. But ultimately now Johnson sitting in 16th and certainly within striking distance.
Yeah, so I think what Ginevra's done there is indicated to the field, this is the shape I'm in. Like, that pace would not have been slow for the rest of the field in terms of, dealing with Mariah Denigan's pace and then coming in just behind that. That's not a slow pace. So for Ginevra to gap it like that with a 13 seconds on second place, that is really, really concerning for the rest of the field. Like genuinely very concerning, because 13 seconds is a lot over that distance. Like it's a lot of time. That's nearly a second 100 that you'd have to find, and that was just the opening lap. She took a mini break and then just like got back in, got on the feet, and she loves being on the feet of a swimmer. She'll take that and she'll move forward with that. Oh wow, this is shaping up to be something really impressive from Ginevra here. Like she is looking in great form to be able to do that. And you know, typically we would see with her Chika Kajimoto from Japan kind of vying with her with that speed at the front like that. Don't have her here this time. So Ginevra is still carrying on that streak of putting down dominance at the front of the race, and a dominance we haven't seen in the women's race before.
No, it's a good point, Alice. It's a positive point as well, and ultimately we've got 5 laps to find out exactly how it does play out. But for now, as the field is set, let's have a look back at I guess how the total points are sitting here, because as we've seen, it's just as much as there was on the line for the women's race as there was in the men's, and ultimately this race will decide the overall World Cup champion for 2025. So coming in today, as we've talked about, is Italy's Ginevra Taddeucci, leading the standings on 1,800 points after a brilliant season of consistency. 4 silvers at the World Championships in Singapore and podiums at nearly every stop. That being said, Ibiza was the one that got away. Just behind her is the champion from Ibiza, is Spain's own Angela Martinez on 1,750 points, just 50 points behind. And in third is Australia's Moesha Johnson, who sits on 1,600 points, 800 in both of the races. That's the maximum points allowed to get the win in both races, and the reigning world champion over this distance as well. But unfortunately for Moesha, skipping the Ibiza stop as she had to qualify for the Australian pool team to show just the prevalence of her performances. From there, France's Caroline Jouisse and Germany's Leah Boy are tied in 4th position on 1,350 points and still in the hunt for a podium finish in this series, but ultimately every position forward means more money in the pocket. Here's how the math plays out though. If Taddeucci finishes on the podium, 1st, 2nd or 3rd, she clinches the title outright, regardless of what happens behind her. If Angela Martinez wins, then Taddeucci needs to finish 4th or better to hang on. If Moesha wins, she can still steal the title, but only if Taddeucci finishes 5th or lower and Martinez doesn't finish in the top 2. For everyone else, the door is effectively closed unless the top 3 all falter. So in short, it's Taddeucci's title to lose, and with a home crowd behind her and 2 of the world's best, with Martinez and Johnson breathing down her neck, this could go right to the finish shoot as we saw in the men's race. And Alice, remember, the overall series title winner takes home $50,000 US. Second will take home $35,000, and third $25,000. So every position here in Golfo Aranci counts, and especially when you look at the way that these athletes approach the training, $25,000 is a massive deal.
Huge. Absolutely huge. Yeah, wow. It's amazing what Ginevra has been able to create for herself, this opportunity, and that's why we saw her at the front making it happen, putting down a statement. I think it's sending a signal to the rest of the field, but the opportunity to earn so much money, and you know that's not including the prize money that you get at the World Cups individually, as it is. So a lot to play for these athletes, a lot to play for. There's a lot on the line. For Moesha Johnson, you know, if she wants to take home this win, there's a lot of ifs that have to happen for her, but she makes things happen. So I don't know. It's going to be really hard to predict what happens here, but at the moment, I think we see Ginevra in second, and Mariah. That's not Mariah Denigan leading. Sorry, it might be Brooke Travis Brooke of America potentially. Yeah,
I'm not sure. We'll zoom in on that shortly Oh no, it is Brooke Travis. You can see that pink tape, Alice. The dead giveaway for the comment.
Yeah, it's definitely very helpful for us having something to point to. But yeah, it looks like she's taking a comfortable lead at the moment. There's something that we typically see with the Americans and the Australians as well. Well, I'm not letting you lot out of that too. Like to be at the front, like to make the pace happen, like to be driving it forward. That was definitely what I felt whenever I raced, whenever there were Australians and Americans in the field. They were definitely driving through, carrying that pool speed, which both of those countries are renowned for, and bringing it into the open water. And that's where, you try to get your tactics involved and try to make things happen, like in the middle and towards the back of the races. But we're still seeing everybody in the mix there. I believe we saw Angela Martinez of Spain sat in there too with that bright blue cap. But here's a great shot of Brooke from America got a nice strong stroke, and that pink tape, just if you're wondering what that's for, it's honestly just to keep the hat secure, keep the hat and goggles secure in open water. You can get knocked about a bit. See many stories and issues. I mean, let's point to Chika Kajimoto in the was it the 3K knockout at Worlds Will, where her hat completely came off and she still got home and got that win. But it was really chaotic, and just good to know you've got some security with that tape on your head.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, inspirational by Kajimoto to claim the gold medal with no cap on. I don't know how often that's happened in recent history, at least in the women's race, no matter the event, open water or in the pool. So, yeah, exceptional racing. But it's very interesting to see the way that this race is playing out here. For Brooke Travis to have taken the lead, the pace not necessarily as fast as people would have been expecting. And as we have this rounding shot of the lead group here, you can see that chaos coming into the race with just so many swimmers sitting across at the back of the field. But, you say that, Taddeucci still sits second, Leah Boy in there, but a big move sitting in fourth now, Moesha Johnson.
Okay, I see Moesha move up. I think she's been able to take that moment, read the group, understand what's happening, and I mean she's going to have to sit further up. She's going to have to finish first, and then all sorts of things have to happen behind her for her to take the W. But looking to make it happen, looking to take these opportunities. Probably quite grateful somebody else is looking to do the work, and then can start to play off of that, start to formulate what she wants, and hopefully capitalize on a mistake from Travis.
So here we are, lap 2 of 6. This is, of course, the women's 10 kilometers, the fourth and final stop of the 2025 World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup here in Golfo Aranci. The third time we've been racing here in this incredible part of the world. And Alice, as we admire the efforts of the athletes currently in the water, it's hard not to put your mind to tomorrow and what that holds in store for the athletes. Of course, we're talking about what is going to be an incredibly tough back end of this 10 kilometers, and then an incredibly difficult day tomorrow, where some athletes will be racing both the 4x1500 meter relay and also racing the 3 kilometer knockout. The first time we've seen all three events in the one meet.
Yeah, wow, we are so spoiled this weekend. I'm really sad that the World Cup series is finishing for this year. It's been a fantastic season. We've had so many dramas, so many highs and some lows for the athletes, but that is what is so beautiful about our sport. But at the same time, we are going out with a bang this weekend, aren't we? Two 10Ks today, and then tomorrow, 3 fantastic races. And what I am calling I think that will be, if I could imagine like a hard day of racing, that is by far the hardest day of racing that is conceivable at the level that we are operating at. Doing a 1500 meter effort in the relay, and honestly, the relay will always draw out of athletes the majority of their energy. You put out so much for your country because whilst you always race for your country, you're truly racing for your teammates, and you want to make it happen for all of you. Then to have a couple hours off into the 3K knockouts, which is such tough racing. You've got that 1500, 1K, 500, with all within like, you know, you get 10 minutes or a couple minutes gap in between, and it's fast, it's furious. It's going to be such a fantastic day of racing. And then on top of that, everybody would have just raced a 10K the day before. The majority of athletes racing a 10K the day before. Really challenging racing, but it's great to see that the athletes haven't shied away from that. People have committed to all 3 races. They're committing to this 10K now, as we're seeing, and it's great viewing for us. But I'm just saying to the athletes, please do look after yourself, get your rest, get your recovery, and come out and show up for us again tomorrow.
I'm sure they will, of course. Alice, for many, it's the start of the season. For others, it's the finishing of the World Cup series. And I guess what a year it's been. Only 4 stops, as we mentioned, but 4 high-octane stops at that. And a big part of that being the introduction of the World Aquatics athlete experience this year, and where we've been able to see the best of the best continue to race each other at the highest level. You know, Moesha and Ginevra as well on that program. So what a storyline it has created through some consistently high level racing.
You're certainly right. You know, the World Cups have really, year on year, just kept driving forward and giving some great opportunities. You know, we see that with the junior swimmers, for example. We spoke about it in the men's race, but we have the series lead at the moment, Luna from Finland. And it's really, really exciting for her. You know, she gets to walk out with all of the top athletes who are competing at this race, and gets a great opportunity to win some money and put herself on the map, both open water swimming internationally and globally, but also in her federation. So the World Cup's continuously giving athletes opportunities not only to race each other, but to get recognition and notoriety within their federations and within their sports.
And we're so grateful to have those federations continue to back this incredible event that has really been lifting the profile of the sport internationally. I think we've just had a lead change once again. You can see just a little bit of pressure coming into this race now, as we have Ginevra Taddeucci lead the way. Sitting in second though is Moesha Johnson now of Australia. So she learnt from that first lap, Alice. She doesn't want to leave it to chance, and that's why Johnson has moved forward to sit up near the front of the race.
Yeah, and this is where I'm kind of like, oh, okay, we're going to see normal programming potentially, and we might have was that Lisa Poo? Oh, it's Lisa Poo up front. Nice. Okay, so we're actually seeing the world podium currently inverted at the moment in terms of Lisa Poo and Moesha Johnson swapped, and Ginevra sat in second place as she took home in the 10 at Worlds. But anyway, nice. This is what we would expect to see normally. Moesha Johnson here, I just love to get into her mind and know what she's thinking, know what the tactics are, what's she going to play to, where's she going to try and take this opportunity to create some kind of chaos, so she can create that gap between her and Ginevra, to maybe be able to take home that series win. So, but Lisa Poo currently sat. I'll just check my notes. Sorry. Okay, I haven't. She's Lisa Poo. I'll just check where she sat in the series at the moment, but it's looking really strong from both Ginevra and Moesha Johnson. Looking to potentially push away from the field, if I'm not mistaken. Looking to like really thin it out here. I think that's what Lisa's trying to do. But also just on the far side, we've got a swimmer who's by themselves at the moment. I'm not sure if that's Brooke Travis from America. So yes, it is still Brooke Travis from America, kind of taking her own line as Lisa charges through.
So much going on here. The second of 6 laps in the final race for this season. Monaco's Lisa Poo now controls the race out in front, and doing so in very strong fashion. As Alice mentioned, this is a familiar sight to see Poo lead Taddeucci. And Alice, if we throw our minds back to this time last year, the final stop in Neom, Saudi Arabia, it was Lisa Poo who got bested on the final lap of the sprint series, the 5th and final lap. Of course, the sprint series was run slightly differently last year. Lisa Poo just faded on that 5th and final sprint lap and Taddeucci stormed through to claim that sprint title. So it just goes to show that Taddeucci can be absolutely clutch in these sort of moments, and really that nothing is decided until the very final moment.
Yeah, you're so right. And one thing on Ginevra Taddeucci of Italy, I feel like she's the women's equivalent of Marc-Antoine Olivier in terms of that consistency. I mean, we have seen a dominance of consistency on the top of the podium for Marisa Johnson this year. But I think in terms of Ginevra, it's just she has always been there, plugging away, making it happen, creating opportunities for herself, and then finding this fantastic opportunity that Marisa Johnson and her race style suits her so perfectly that she can continue to benefit from it. So, yeah, it's a really, really exciting prospect for all of these swimmers. Lisa Poo currently sat 11th in the overall series ranking. So, you know, if she gets a podium here or a really strong finish here, it could catapult her further forward in front of some of her competitors and potentially look to take home some of that money as well.
Yeah, and of course, prize money only going to the top 10 there. So it is a massive opportunity ahead for Lisa Poo, who didn't really take much of a break after Singapore, went on to win that Len Cup series, as we've talked about throughout today's broadcast, but potentially riding high off the podium, her first international podium, which was, of course, at the World Championship. So, yeah, I mean, we saw what happened to David Bethlehem, swimming like a free man today, claiming his first ever World Cup title, and potentially something of similar nature to come for Lisa Poo as she controls the pace at the back end of lap 2. I did want to just correct my math that I provided earlier with regards to the overall title. If Angela Martinez wins, she becomes the champion. For Ginevra Taddeucci, she just needs to finish ahead of Angela to keep her crown and finish thereabouts Moesha. There's 200 points separating those two. And for Moesha Johnson, she needs to not only win the race, but finish at least 3 places ahead of Taddeucci. So you're looking at the point total overall. It's 800 points for a win, 700 points for second, 600 points for third. So if Moesha was to win and Taddeucci finishes second, Ginevra Taddeucci would claim the title. If she finishes third, we'd split the title for first place between Moesha Johnson and Ginevra Taddeucci. And of course, if Angela Martinez finishes ahead, there is the opportunity for Martinez to then claim the overall title. So it is incredibly close. And Alice, like we saw in the men's race, we won't know until that final lap. But as we come down to finish off lap 2 here, it is shaping up with all the favourites near the front.
Yes, definitely. You know, this is normal programming that what we see. We saw had quite a very exciting start with Ginevra creating that 13-second gap. I mean, it looks like she is going to, oh, Lisa Poo just in front of her here, but still up at the front, still gunning for it, but obviously much shorter gap from the first lap. We see Lisa Poo, Taddeucci of Italy, Johnson in third, Brooke Travis, Leah Boy. Leah Boy being stuck in there is a dangerous threat, especially if the pace isn't going to be too fast at the moment for her to, you know, potentially drop off and fall further back. But a lot of very strong and competitive athletes in this top 10 will.
A lot of fast athletes as well, Alice, as we look to a sprint finish. You know, Mariah Denigan sitting in 11th position. She's incredibly fast down the finish, as is Martinez, as is Schwiss, as is Rita, as is Boy. Delacroix as well has been known for that finishing speed. Ana Marcela Cunha sitting a bit further back. Mafalda Rosa, of course, in 18th, the Portuguese athlete, the podium place, well, the bronze medalist from last year's 10 kilometers. So, I mean, the sprint finish is sort of what we've been used to see in the women's race up until essentially midway through last year, where Moesha Johnson has completely changed the evolution of the women's race. So when you think about that, there are so many athletes that have developed a career around that sprint finish that will be having eyes on the podium today should it play out that way, including none other than Ana Marcela Cunha, who we touched on in the men's race, Alice. She's been on the podium at the World Cups every year since 2009, except for this year. But this is certainly a race that favours the Brazilian.
Yes, this is the thing. If the pace I mean, we have time, right? We're about under halfway through. If the pace doesn't suddenly inject, that gives so much room for Ana Marcela Cunha, who we know is experienced and resilient and strong, to come through and start to punch through, to take out some of those people, start moving up the ladder, as we always speak about, and get onto that podium. And she's strong and she's tough in that finish arc. She knows how to find that burst of speed. She knows how to get her hand on the touchpad in front of other competitors. So I mean, the three at the front with Pooh, Taddeucci, and Johnson want to create this gap. They want to create that opportunity for them to get the podium. But at the same time, you can see the reluctance from Marisha to make that happen, because she knows Ginevra will be coming with her. And she knows with that, for Ginevra, is that $50,000 prize that she is trying to get and secure for herself. So there are so many different tactics going through her mind. And, this is while the race is unfolding. You don't have, whilst it is a 10K, it's the longest event that you swim in terms of the Olympic events. It's not that much time to actually execute these plans and make it happen.
Yeah, and especially, a lot of the clarity comes from seeing and sitting outside of the water. It's very difficult to know what's happening when you're in the water, especially in these World Cup races where there are so many Italian caps. Like Moesha, obviously very experienced of swimming with Ginevra, or Johnson with Taddeucci, in fact. But ultimately, it's very difficult to be able to pick exactly where people are. And that being said, there's a lot of experience with Lisa Pooh and out in front as well. But again, you just don't know who you can trust in these circumstances. A lot of the friendships go out the door when it comes to prize money. So, it's just going to be very interesting to see how it eventuates here. And I don't love this position for Moesha, as we talked about, Alice. Like, we've seen this play out time and time again. The way that Moesha's won every race since Setable last year is she's sat here, and at the 6K mark she's moved out, swam away, and Taddeucci has been able to get on those feet. So the pace is certainly a little bit hotter on this third lap than it was on the second, and that's of course come from the Monaco athlete leading the way in Lisa Pooh. But a little bit of zigzags occurring at the front, which means that there are some games being played for this field.
Yeah, this is what's really challenging for Marisha, because, if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. In terms of, for that, it means Ginevra finishing in second, in which case she gets the money. And I don't know, it's just so challenging, because we have seen already that Ginevra is capable of doing this by herself as well. We saw it on the first lap. That was very intentional and very obvious to say, I can actually do this by myself. Like, yes, Moesha has been in front of me, and it's great that she's created those gaps for us. But I have still been the athlete on her feet, keeping up with that pace. So, Ginevra is in a very strong position. She looks fantastic. She looks in great form. That first lap was very, very statement piece making. She took a 15-second rest and had a nice drink, and then she's ready to do the rest of her race. So I don't know, this is really, really challenging. And I know we're quite wrapped up in the maths of the leaderboard, but we are talking about a lot of money on the line for these athletes, and wanting to create those opportunities for themselves to get as high up in those rankings as possible. As we see Lisa Pooh doing, she knows that she's in a shout to win some money. As you said, it goes to the top 10. She puts herself in a good, strong position here, gets on the podium. That will catapult her up into the top 10 quite easily. So there's a lot to play for each of the athletes today.
That's so true. That is, and that's ultimately the comment that I make about, you don't know who your friends are when prize money comes on the line, because ultimately that can mean so much to these athletes and their ability to spend that money on their training and their body to make sure that they do recover in time for more training, and ultimately driving what is the eventual goal of either a world championship title or an Olympic title, which is all elusive to, well, the Olympic title is elusive to anyone in this field as it currently sits. So we keep a keen eye on the proceedings of this race. But Alice, you're so right. We saw in Singapore, Ginevra Taddeucci, she was exceptional no matter the circumstances, even in the 3 kilometer knockout, managing to avoid a lot of the drama that came from that. But also, just as we pull away from that conversation on Taddeucci, Lisa Poo just wanting to cause drama through this field with those massive zigzags.
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting. And with a swimmer of Lisa's caliber and experience, it's intentional. You know, sometimes when it's certain athletes at the front that we don't see typically lead or might be new names to us, and you know, when they're zigzagging like that, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, it's probably a sighting thing. No, she is just playing with the field. She wants to drop as many athletes as possible because it is jarring. You know, she's putting on a good, strong pace, and when you're constantly having to zigzag, you're looking up, and all of a sudden the pack is very far to your right when you were thinking they should be kind of on your left, and then you kind of have to overcorrect, you have to come over, and then she cuts back over again. It's annoying, it's draining mentally and physically, and it's one of those things that might not be right now, but in 1k 2k 3k time it will be it would have had an effect on swimmers.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that emotional drain that you talk about, like, it's very easy to get frustrated in these situations where you're thinking, okay, I'm swimming extra meters, I'm working really hard, and then I'm actually fighting for my position in the pack because no one is necessarily comfortable with where they're sitting when those zags are coming. And then you see it again, just the look under the armpit from Lisa Poo, and just a very deliberate turn. Once more, she's just playing with the field out in front, and I think that's the way it's going to continue to develop here, Alice, because no one really wanting to take the lead off Lisa. The only athlete that would want to put in a spurt is Ginevra, but for her, she just needs to sit on the feet of Moesha, and Moesha doesn't want to move at all in this race because ultimately she needs that chaos on the finish line. So a very interesting race that is playing out here, and the first time we've actually seen it swum this way this year. So it just goes again to show that every race is slightly different. And the one thing that's good to see is Golfo Aranci starting to put on a spectacular show here for the women's race. Very different conditions that the men raced in, torrential rainfall for their 10 kilometers. One of the storylines I wanted to pick up here, Alice, the introduction of the Hungarian cap. A lot of fans that mightn't have been watching since last year might think that that's Bettina Fabian sitting in the top 6, but it's actually one of the newcomers to the sport, Victoria Mihalvari Farkas of Hungary. She has stormed onto the scene, and ultimately was a big reason as to why Hungary was on the podium in that mixed 4x1500 meter relay at World Champs.
Yes, you know, she has been working her way up this past year. She has put out some fantastic results, becoming European champion earlier this year, having some great showings at the World Cups, and is cementing herself again, like Hungary, consistently putting out the next name in open water swimming on both the men's and the women's side that you need to pay attention to and look out for. So yeah, really excited to see what she can do today in terms of taking these opportunities for herself. And I mean, I hope everyone would be aware of kind of what is happening at the front in terms of at the top of the leaderboard and the challenge that Moesha Johnson has. And you know, we have seen the races kind of end up being sort of a cookie cutter way in terms of the past year because of just the dominance Moesha has been able to put out. But I think knowing what is on the line for her and what she kind of has to do and make happen in terms of her position, but also Ginevra's position, creates more opportunity for the rest of the field to capitalize on what could potentially be quite chaotic at a certain point. That chaos might not necessarily happen at the finish, but if Moesha wants to do what she wants to do, she's going to have to make it happen at some point.
That's right. That's right. It's almost somewhat of a ticking time bomb. Like, when is that going to happen? And again, what is the reaction from the rest of the field? As we've talked about, a number of athletes took some time off after Singapore. Moesha being one of them, went back home, spent some time with the family, and has since joined back into training pretty full time, at least the last 6 weeks. So, you know, not the form that these athletes would have carried into Singapore, and certainly not expecting that this early in the season. But you know, I guess this is the time that these different tactics get played with. There's no World Championships next year. The first time in 4 years where there hasn't been a World Championship in the coming years. So for a lot of these athletes, they'll be trialing different training techniques, trialing different racing techniques, and we're seeing that for the first time play out today.
You're so right. Off the back of a World Championships like that, where was more challenging conditions. It's just after the Olympic cycle, and it's the first normal Olympic cycle that we're going to have since London and Rio, since in between London and Rio, which is quite a crazy thing to say, actually. Like, we're kind of back to normal programming now, in terms of the World Championships. The next World Championships is in 2027. So next year, or 2026, it's kind of looking like, okay, there's Pan Pacs in America, there's European Championships, there's the Commonwealth Games. There's still loads of competitions to get your teeth into, but it creates opportunity to try something different. And this is what I consistently kind of allude to it when I speak, is athletes putting themselves in positions where they're kind of forced to try something new, or actively putting themselves in positions to try something new, if that makes sense. So and this is where the training that you're saying, trying something different, putting yourself through different challenges, approaching the season with a fresh outlook and perspective on the sport and on racing is really, really important, because we do meters. It's a volume sport. It's a meter sport. It's a lot of long, hard swims in the pool, and then some long gym sessions where you're kind of wondering how strong your shoulders can be, and how much you're putting through them is absolutely insane. So to find anything different and refreshing and new for it is very important for athletes and for coaches to keep moving forward, keep pushing things forward. So it's a great opportunity off the back of a World Champs. Yes, you're moving into the stop 4. You probably take a little bit of a rest, but get a refresher, get back in the pool, and then fly through and see what you can do in Golfo Aranci this weekend.
Yeah, that's I mean, you've summarized exactly the mentality of a lot of the athletes in the water, and for some of them, they would have been swimming in flux for a long time, and those veterans like Ana Marcela Cunha, who have swum through normal Olympic programs, almost having to swim in a relative state of chaos the last couple of years as the world engaged in a obviously worldwide pandemic. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how people settle down, and then alternatively, like for some of the younger athletes, the rising stars, they don't know what the grind is truly like, and it'll be interesting to see how they adapt to, I guess, the mundanity of day-to-day training without the constant pressure of having to deliver at a World Championships, a European Championships, or another major championships around the world every 6 or so months, and it's gonna make or break some athletes, but for now we get to see the tough of the tough out in front, really controlling that pace. Interesting to circle back to what you spoke about there, Alice. One of the major games next year being the Commonwealth Games. Open water swimming not currently part of the program. I guess state your case. Why should the Commonwealth Games include open water swimming? Ideally for next year, but really for the years to come.
Oh, yeah, it's such a shame that it's not on the program, because I'm like, guys, you've got triathlon. Like, all you need is an extra day to put a 10K on, or even a 5. Give us something, please. But yeah, I just think it's one of those sports that hasn't been picked up by it. The Commonwealth Games, it was in a challenging position. Let's not lie about it. It's very, very public knowledge that it wasn't potentially gonna happen. We have seen Glasgow pick it up now. It is going to be a thinner version of the games as they have been in the past, but still great that it's happening. It's kind of been dubbed the friendly games. For those of you who don't know, it's kind of the Commonwealth, a collective of some of the nations which were part of the British Empire at some point, and it's a great place for athletes from nations that might not typically get those Olympic opportunities to still go to a great games, to a competitive games, and have that opportunity to represent their country. So fortunately, open water is not one of the events there. But just moving back to this race, I don't know if we can see Maurice Johnson potentially, just kind of edging out, but then I think it might just be Lisa Poo's lines, zigzagging and kind of forcing Mauricia to be really locked into. If you want to stay on my feet, you're going to have to be very switched on for it.
Yeah, no, it looked like that camera angle there, Moesha just pulling off the feet, but I think you've called that perfectly, Alice, as that zigzag continues down this back straight, which again would continue to be so frustrating. And I guess the way that the pack moves in the swimming races is very much like a semi-truck with the different trailers hanging off the back. A fraction of movement at the front causes meters of movement at the back, and I guess that's where that frustration really does come to fruition for the chase group essentially at the back of this leading group. But Alice, I guess that's almost like a legacy piece for us to try and convince the Commonwealth Games to introduce our fantastic sport at that highest level, because ultimately, they're missing out on what is one of the best events on the Summer Olympic program. So it's their loss, really. Come on, what do we want? Lawn bowls or open water swimming?
You're gonna have the Lawn Bowl Society up in arms. Well, no, yeah, it is a shame. It is a shame. At the same time, I'm grateful that it's an Olympic sport and not the other way around. Potentially, I know some sports really struggle with that, where they're a Commonwealth sport and they don't have that opportunity to be on the Olympic Games. But you are so right. Maybe we should start lobbying some people. Be great. Imagine getting like Mauricia Johnson in and just. She'd have a really dominant swim, actually, wouldn't she? I'm trying to think about the countries that would be competitive with her in that. She would really have a good showing. So hey, you never know, never say never. But yeah, just even like Pan Packs, and I think the Pan Packs are going to be quite. I heard whispers they might be quite open this year in terms of letting potential Europeans in and creating something quite strong and quite fun there. So I think we might end up being spoilt, hopefully, as well as the Open Water World Cup for races next year.
No, you're right. The Pan Pacs will be an open event. I don't think that the non-Pan Pacific nations will be able to claim medals, but they will get the opportunity to race at those championships. Of course, that will be swum on the Olympic race course as well. So a trial before the trial, I'd say, for open water swimming on that incredible venue to be held in LA for 2028. But for now, again, we turn our attention to the race. Alice out in front is still Lisa Poo of Monaco, leading the way ahead of Moesha Johnson, the world champion and the World Series leader, currently sitting in third, Ginevra Taddeucci. As we come down to the halfway mark now, it truly is shaping up to be an exciting final 5Ks. Exactly where people position is going to be interesting, but for now, Lisa Poo has controlled this speed in this third lap. Moving through, I think that might be Delacroix, a big mover for France, potentially even Jouisse. We'll get an update very shortly, but Poo leads, Johnson, Taddeucci currently sitting in third. Jouisse is in fact in fourth position for France. Tarsovic still sitting up there for Poland. What a story she has been, as is Milivari Farkas. Caponi of Italy, Delacroix. So some young names really sitting forward. Learboy there as well, the experienced sprinter that is Learboy. Maria Del Valdez, the silver medalist from last year's World Championships. She has a killer sprint down that final straight and not afraid to be physical either. So it's everyone's thereabouts, and even as we tick through, Ana Marcela Cunha currently sitting in 16th. That was very much a deliberate lap for Ana Marcela Cunha moving through the field.
Yes, definitely. Just on Claudia Tarshevitz quickly as well. Mentioned her and her teammate Karpus in the men's race, who have had just a fantastic showing over the past couple of weeks. Bartosz Kapela of Poland, apologies, Bartosz Kapela of Poland, taking home that win in at the Len Cup in Croatia just a couple of weeks back, and so did Claudia Toszewicz of Poland as well. So Poland coming away with 2 gold medals from that leg there, and Kapela beat David Bethlehem to get that gold. So, dealing with like a strong caliber of field, and same with Tarshevitz, beating Leah Boy and Celine Reeder for that gold on that podium. So, really exciting showing from Poland to continually keep investing in these athletes, keep giving them these opportunities. And, we're seeing it now with gold medals at Len Cups and, potentially looking to get onto podiums at, gold medals at European Cups and looking to get on podiums at World Cups.
And I guess that's the result of everything that we've discussed here, Alice, is that commitment from those federations at this level is going to lead to results. It might not be the athletes that started the journey. It certainly wasn't that way for Australia. The commitment to racing at more World Cups was really only rewarded. I guess, it's been a long journey to develop an athlete like Moesha Johnson, and of course Johnson, is to be thanked for a lot of that work, but also some of the athletes that had come before her to achieve that result as well equally deserve the accolades that that federation is seeing. And as we talk about Tarsiewicz now, the next hope for Poland, potentially the athlete that will come through and steal some podiums in the future, but also maybe the idol for those to make that next step as well. But as we go to the front of the race, we've seen a change in lead once again out in front. Ginevra Taddeucci leads the way, and like you said, Alice, just looks so strong. As this overhead shot shows us, I'd be keen for you to sort of talk through the technique here, but you can really see the result of a lot of pull there. You can see almost no hip movement, no kick whatsoever pretty much, and a lot of strength through the shoulders.
Yeah, so what's so interesting about open water swimming, and what I love about it, to be honest, is you have such a diverse way of swimming. There are so many different techniques that give great results. So, for example, Ginevra Taddeucci is a technique that typically when you were younger, you were like, oh, this is not how you swim. That's not a good technique. But gosh, it works for her. She's a fast pool swimmer, and she's a very, 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 very fast open water swimmer, and it gets results. It's strong. It's a high stroke rate. And if you can maintain that, like she can, look at the results that you can take from it. So, and I think this is what's so fun about it. You look behind her, you see Moesha Johnson, who has a slower stroke rate, who would be able to get up to the speeds of Ginevra if she wanted to, but doesn't do it in that way. She doesn't swim fast in that way. She has like a longer stroke, she lets her arm go out further, and she kind of catches more water, whereas Ginevra is all about turnover. And then moving further past that, you see Caroline Suisse behind Moesha Johnson in third place. She has kind of a similar stroke to Moesha, but I'd say it's a little bit slower in terms of the arm turnover, not as high as a cadence. So you've kind of got three different speeds of stroke rate going down the line here if you want. It's quite a good way to just know, like, look, if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to work with your strengths and make your strengths unbeatable, then you can go and have some really, really great swims, as we've seen from Ginevra and Moesha Johnson.
Yeah, I think, we're seeing a perfect showing of, what we always talk about, Alice, the different, I guess, opportunities that are ahead for athletes. There's not necessarily the same restrictions as we've seen in the pool. If you can make your stroke work for you, the opportunity is really there for each and every athlete that takes to the open water. So it's one of the great things about our sport is the diversity that comes through it, and we're seeing that on display here. And I guess what these two athletes are, Ginevra Taddeucci and of course Moesha Johnson, two incredible inspirations for whoever's going to come next. And let's even go back to third there, Caroline Suisse of France. What an exceptional career she's had as she's continued to evolve to the sport, where she was primarily an ultra marathon swimmer, the 25-kilometer distance, and European champion over that distance. And obviously, when that race was taken away from the World Championships, she had to adjust very quickly, and she did so incredibly well to then be able to represent France in her home Olympics last year. It's truly incredible, and now one of the strongest swimmers in the field, but also one of the fastest finishers, which is exceptional when you think that a 25-kilometer swimmer usually doesn't have a great turn of speed.
Yeah, certainly. She's really risen to the occasion of saying, okay, the 25K is being phased out a little bit at the World Championship level. Let's really, take that strength endurance, and start to work on, getting down to the 10K. And it's so funny getting down to the 10K, like it's a marathon still. Like you're seeing an ultra marathon swimmer come down to a marathon, and you're like, oh wow, like that is great. I'm really happy for you. And she's really risen to it. She's doing so well. She's been pushing through. She's been consistently up there this year, and she's having a really, really great race this afternoon in Golfo Aranci.
And I guess similarly, we see on the inside of the course that pink tape once again coming to our aid. Brooke Travis of the USA storming through on the inside. She's one on the rise, but she's got a tall task ahead of her to get through. Arguably, probably, if not definitely not the top 3 most experienced athletes, but this year at least, these athletes have been inseparable at world-class racing, including the lady on the screen now, Ginevra Taddeucci. Alice, I guess, we see Taddeucci lead the race, and we send these signals all around the world. Just how difficult is it to maintain that stroke rate at the front?
Oh, wow. That is a question. Honest, so challenging. And this is where it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of patience and resilience. But also, I think people might not like me saying this, you have to have the kind of body that can cope with it. There's kind of in a way, a genetic thing that either mentally or physically you have something in you which can cope with what you do. Not every athlete that we see compete, getting to the levels that Ginevra gets to in terms of getting on podiums, will be able to do what she does in terms of maintaining stroke rate and coping with it. But equally, Ginevra in certain ways won't be able to do what other athletes do in terms of maybe what they put out in speed or something like that. So I think it's like we've kind of said, it's knowing what your strengths are, knowing where you're best placing your energy and what you want to put your talents and your effort into. And what Ginevra does, the training that she'll have to go into it is intense. It's a lot. You can just tell she probably spends hours upon hours, week after week, with her paddles on, being able to cope with all of that pressure and that strain that goes through your shoulders with cadence and a turnover like that. It's hard. Like it's a really strong way of having like a good women's distance swimmer. Typically see it with women's, but it's really, really challenging and needs a lot of resilience from the athletes.
And equally so, sitting in second there, Moesha Johnson, a very different stroke to the way that Taddeucci approaches it, but a clinically beautiful freestyle coming from Moesha Johnson. How does that sort of be developed as well?
Yeah, so this is where I think got to shout out Coach Byrne and the program that he's got on in Germany. Also, just you did mention it earlier in terms of Moesha and what she sacrificed. I just really want to shout that out. We all sacrifice a lot for the sport. We really all do. But there are certain sacrifices I was never prepared to make in terms of moving country. And she's moved like literal continent. She's moved halfway around the world to go and train in Germany to give herself that best opportunity to be the athlete that she has formed herself into. I know Sharon van Rooyendaal, a teammate of hers before her retirement, has been a part of that too, into kind of nurturing and creating a team environment in which both of them have been able to get on and become Olympic champion and Olympic silver medalist. So really, really impressive. But in terms of Moesha's stroke, I just know the work that Bernd does and the amount of hours that they put in the pool in terms of like, okay, so we're going to do so much swimming, but we're going to do it very slow. It's going to be very deliberate. We're going to get your stroke technique right. And then after that, we're going to do the long stuff and the harder stuff. And you need to maintain your stroke with that. And just having that patience of knowing, okay, I need to completely reset my stroke. I think Marisha posted on Instagram recently a video of her maybe 2 or 3 years ago on training camp, and then a video of her now, like literally a week ago on training camp, and you can see the difference in her stroke. I highly recommend go and check that out. Go look at Marisha's Instagram to go see that, because it was really cool. It was a really cool breakdown, and I think it's fantastic for both competitors, athletes, and fans to just have that opportunity to see how stroke can develop. You know, she still would have been in her 20s at the time of the first video. So the fact that there has been patience, there's been hard work put into changing her stroke and then unlocking the swims that she has had recently. It doesn't happen by chance, is what I'm saying. That's what we're saying. It doesn't happen by chance. There is so much hard work and effort which goes into creating the athletes that we see today.
No, that's such an incredible breakdown, and speaks to the commitment that we always talk about. As, you know, there's a lot of hours that get spent at the pool in preparing for results like what we've seen this year and the one that's about to come. But ultimately, those hours are very deliberate. You know, there's a whole team led by the head coach of each program that is trying to chase perfection, and credit to everyone that is in pursuit of perfection. Obviously, World Aquatics provides the platform through the World Cups and World Championships, but there are a lot of people working exceptionally hard throughout the year to make sure that they rock up to race day as prepared as they possibly can. One thing that surprised me most about Coach Byrne's squad, which we got an insight on, and Alice, I won't get you to talk to the specifics of I guess the sessions or the sets and the times that were done, but we did get an insight into just how much kick the squad that Coach Byrne does does in their training sessions. Like, I guess you're talking about upwards of 2Ks of kick on very fast cycles, and I think that is almost their superpower. Is you can see Moesha there currently sitting in second, Moesha Johnson of Australia, not using her legs at all. But wait till they get to the back end of this race and you'll see those. And I guess it's going to be one of the things that separates them. Of course, Alice, those incredible kick sets that Coach Byrne's able to put his athletes through, that almost becoming the superpower. And we certainly see that with the likes of Florian Welbrock. When he does go to his legs, he sees such a massive difference in his race. And what we're seeing now, Moesha Johnson sitting in second still, really not engaging her legs whatsoever outside of balance. But when she does need to go to them, that almost is that separating factor that we've looked at all year. It's like, oh my goodness, how does Moesha Johnson able to make a gap so quickly? And usually it's because she's been doing upwards of 2K of kick at exceptionally fast speed.
Yeah, and I think it was at the World Champs we heard stuff about, was it Luca Martins? Lucas Martins? He was doing some great, crazy fast kick times. You probably have a better memory for me than it will.
Yeah, no, I think they were doing, I believe, and sort of, all hearsay here, no actual facts. I haven't been invited down by Coach Byrne yet to pool deck to see this in action myself. So, but I believe 5 400s on 520, so 120 per 100 average, holding 5 minutes for the 400 meters of kick. Like that's short rest pace for most of the world. It's faster than short rest pace for most of the world, and the Coach Byrne squad was doing that on a kickboard.
Wow, yeah, I was just thinking, when I was doing like 400s off 520, I was like, oh, okay, we're training hard today, huh? No, really, that's so impressive. And yeah, you're so right about, I think, understanding swimming, and I think the way Coach Byrne, as well as other coaches across the open water, the open water course and the open water circuit, they all have different approaches to this. And looking at the individual components of stroke and, what can I utilize here? What can I find here? What's that 1%, is often spoken about in sports, find all your 1% instead of trying to improve something by 10%, improve something by 1%, but do that over 10 things or something like that. But I think coaches are getting very creative and very knowledgeable in the ways of, like, just because open water swimming has been won by swimmers who did it like X, it doesn't mean it can't be swimmers who win it in the way of doing it by Y. And that's what's so fun about our sport. It's got diverse of strokes, diverse of body types, but also diverse of thoughts in terms of how am I going to execute this? What strengths am I going to play to? And what am I going to make happen for myself? And we see at the moment Ginevra Taddeucci and Mauricia Johnson, sat in there. We normally see them the other way around, but I think Mauricia at the moment biding her time, trying to see what options she's working with, but also knowing that Ginevra is clearly on good form, and it's going to have to be something quite spectacular to have to change the standings for the World Cup Series as they are.
And that's what sits ahead of us. We're coming down now to the end of lap 4. Taddeucci led lap 2. She's led the entirety of lap 4. We saw Lisa Pu just try to pull out around the group, but ultimately the pace at the front just consistent enough not to allow that to happen. But at this point in the race, we're usually seeing a big move from Mauricia Johnson. We saw it in Setipal, Alice, where Mauricia moved in the 4th lap because she was ultimately getting cold. But today the temperature almost 4 degrees warmer in the water than what it was in Setipal, and ultimately we're going to have to see something out of the ordinary to take the win.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I think the way that Mauricia has to play this is bring the race to Ginevra. She needs to get onto Ginevra's hip when she's ready at a point, and kind of just allow everybody else to come back with them, to move forward with them, and kind of create like a straight line shootout, and then hope that everything goes well in terms of placements for everybody. But it is challenging. Ginevra's not going to let this go just like that, and I don't think we're seeing Ginevra's top gear here. Just because of what she put out on that first lap, I just don't think this is like, she's not at full pelt yet. And Mauricia, she's biding her time, she's seeing what her options are, but I don't know what solutions there are at this point besides kind of getting Ginevra dragged back into everybody. But then that's also a difficult point for Mauricia to contend with getting first place from as well.
Yeah, it's going to, like, as the race continues to move from here, there's just going to be more and more desperation that comes into it. Ultimately, every stroke at the front for Taddeucci is going to be more taxing than if she was sitting in comfortably behind. But looks like Ginevra just pulling to the side here. We're seeing a couple different lines starting to eventuate, but this stroke rate is just exceptional. Like, it's otherworldly how Taddeucci has managed to develop this stroke where she can just sit at the front and tick away. So here it is, Taddeucci almost like prompting Johnson to try and move forward and create that separation. Johnson not falling for it, and Juice Pu sitting in there. You can see I believe that is De Valdez just behind with Tarsovitz as well. So we'll get an update on that here as we come down now. Just over 3 kilometers left of the 2025 season for the 10 kilometers. This is of course the 4th and final World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup for Golfo Aranci. Taddeucci leads away, Johnson second, Juice Pu in 4th, De Valdez as we expected in 5th. Tarsowitz in 6th. We move through. Caponi having an exceptional race, currently sitting in 7th. Delacroix in 8th. So not a lot of movement at the front of the race, which is to be expected. Rita sitting in 9th currently. Leah Boy, the one to keep an eye on as well. So Cunha moving forward once again. This is really shaping up into a race in which we expect to see Cunha near the front and swimming strongly. And there is Leah Boy. So Alice, as we look through the top 11 there with more names to come, there are some exceptionally fast finishers starting to stack themselves.
Yeah, and this is where it's getting dangerous ground for the likes of Marisa Johnson and Ginevra, because I am scared about Ana Marcela Cunha. Like, that is a threat that you just don't really want to have to deal with going into the last lap, because she knows how to make that happen for herself. This is more of a typical race that Ana Marcela Cunha likes. You know, we haven't seen that massive breakaway yet. It normally it's normally in the point where it's going to happen now. As I say, lap 5 is the new lap 6. So I think if there's going to be any big movement, it's going to happen now. But I just don't know if it's going to come from Marisha. But I don't know what Marisha wants to do. We don't know how she wants to play it. Like I said, I think she has to try something different. So I think this might be her trying something different and seeing how she can play around with, Ginevra clearly wants the pace to keep going, and Marisha's preventing it from doing so. She's keeping the pack within touching distance. She's being that bridge between Ginevra and everybody else. So, I mean, Ana Marcela Cunha being only 10 seconds behind and sat in 10th position is a clear indicator of this is not the typical race that we have seen so far this year.
Yeah, no, and it's incredibly exciting because, that sprint finish invites chaos. We saw how that played out in the men's race. Ultimately, Marc-Antoine Olivier hasn't been deeper than 4th this year, and really, even at the back end of last year, continued that form off the back of Paris. So finishing 14th in the men's race. So we're inviting that chaos through the way that this race is happening. And you can see that grey cap there of Brazil just about to go under the turn can. So, it's exciting. This is exactly what we wanted to see. We wanted it to go all the way down to the end. And Martinez just tucked in behind Cunha next to Brooke Travis as well. So as we said, there are some massive, massive names starting to stack themselves at the front of the race, and that's going to lead to ultimately a chaotic final 3 kilometers. And ultimately, Taddeucci, the race still runs through her, but she would be getting more and more nervous with every stroke as we start to wind up the clock here on the 5th lap. About 40 minutes of swimming left. And honestly, Alice, I could not tell you how this race is going to play out.
No, I have no predictions. It's just very volatile. Like, where's this going to go? So, at the moment, Ginevra will be very aware of the fact that Marisha is letting her lead. Because we typically see at this point, Marisha, a mistake happens and then she opens that door and she goes, or she doesn't even need the mistake to happen, but that's when she likes to use that point. She likes to capitalize on that. But she's just sitting in at the moment. She's keeping Ginevra in touching distance. She's not letting anything go. And I think she's waiting for people to come through. I think she's hoping, like someone try and come past us. There will be the speed within the pack over 1,000 meters or over 500 meters to come past Ginevra. So I think she might just be biding her time and waiting for that, because at the moment, if things stay as they are, nothing's going to be big enough to change to open that gap to get in front of Ginevra and to get other people in front of her too. So there's a lot happening there. We've got Leah Boy a little bit further in the pack. She has like a real good strong speed, same as Angela Martinez. They'll open up opportunities for themselves, and if they are given those opportunities, they will take them and they'll run with them. And I think that's what Marisha's trying to play into in terms of just where she's sat, of seeing what's unfolding, seeing who's around her, and what does she have to work with. We see Lisa Powell of Monaco just pulling it out as well, ever so slightly. I think potentially looking to create her own line there. And we see Ginevra, interesting, very interesting, turning onto her back, doing backstroke. Wow. Well, what do you think of that? That's really interesting. That's just kind of like sizing everything up. I think she's really trying to force Marisha in front and saying, come on, let's go, let's get in front. But of course, Marisha doesn't really want that to happen, because otherwise they're kind of working towards handing Ginevra the 50k prize money.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that for Ginevra. Ultimately, I think it's worked out here. Marisha has taken the lead, but ultimately Ginevra just needs to sit at the front and control that speed. Just make sure that it doesn't open the door for the likes of Ana Marcela Cunha, who can just see storming into the contention now. But there are so many good finishers in this pack as it currently stands. The way that Ginevra was sitting before, just holding that consistency at the front of the race, was annihilating the arms of those fast finishers. Now, with the door open, it's going to create a little bit more chaos in this pack as it bunches up again. Going to be a bit more physical, but it really doesn't play to the strength of Ginevra Taddeucci. But to be fair, Alice, we don't know if it plays to the strength of Moesha either. So potentially, the strength that it does play to is Angela Martinez, and we're seeing her on screen at the moment, or just swapping now to Moesha.
Yeah, and Angela Martinez, we have not spoke about her much. She hasn't really been in our eye line in terms of, the swimmers up there, but she's currently sat second in the rankings for the overall lead. So, there's a lot on the line for each of these athletes. And I can kind of tell Marisha doesn't want to be in this position. She's looking back more than I typically see her look back. She normally likes to capitalize on a mistake and then, fly through with her speed and start to starve the pack of oxygen, and, it starts to thin out quite quickly. But yeah, look, the Spanish swimmers, whichever one it is, whether it's Di Valdez or Angela Martinez, they're both fast. They're both very quick. They are not what you want to deal with moving into that last lap if you are the likes of Ginevra or Moesha Johnson. They both have very good speed, bear in mind. But, there's certain swimmers where you're just kind of like, they will have that fight in them, and if they're allowed to if they're allowed to have that opportunity to kind of sit happy at the moment and then find that speed at the end, they will take it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've captured that exactly as the way that the race looks like it's going to play out. I just wonder, as you mentioned, Alice, like Moesha's looking back consistently here. You can see almost there it is again. Every third stroke it looked like before she was looking back, and you can see the paces come out because in that third line there's now 4 swimmers swimming in alignment. So ultimately what Moesha would be wanting to do is just push Taddeucci back into that chase group. If Ginevra Taddeucci cannot get that separation to Moesha's feet, then that's how she's going to be able to break away the Australian out in front. So we'll keep an eye on the lead of the race, but also just keep an eye on this lead chase group as it stands to see exactly where people are moving up. And you can see now just on the inside of the course, there is someone that swam in between both Lisa Poo, and Ginevra Taddeucci. So there are moves happening all over the space.
Yeah, I just want to shout out at the moment. It's quite odd. I don't know what happened to Lisa. I think it was Lisa Poo, who kind of like ended up stopping and kind of getting dragged back in to the pack. I'm not sure what happened there, but it's kind of given Moesha clean water up at the front at the moment. And I don't know if she's aware of it, but it's one of those things where is where we would typically see Moesha, take that opportunity and run with it. But she's also so cautious of doing so because Ginevra could be right there. And at the moment, it's kind of 3 people behind her, and she's playing around with the speed, trying to get kind of as many people up onto the shoulders and causing quite a lot of chaos where, if you get a straight line of swimmers, but Moesha still managed to hold out in front, yes, you're leaving the odds down to it, but you've played with it as much as you can. You've done what you can in terms of controlling the race and giving everybody the best opportunity to get onto the podium whilst you're also trying to get the win as well. And that's exactly what Moesha is trying to do.
It's all happening here. The 5th lap, the penultimate lap of the 2025 World Cup Series underway here in Golfo Aranci, and expect some fireworks here. The 2 Spaniards starting to move through the field, and Alice, especially Di Valdez, very physical, which no one likes swimming near physical swimmers because it really, at this late into a race, can play with your mental state.
Oh, it's annoying and it's draining, and it's tough, when you've got those swimmers that just constantly seem to be in your space. Their stroke clashes with yours, whether that's their fault or your own, and it's really challenging, and it's not what you want. You at this moment, you're kind of like all guns blazing, everything's happening, you're trying to move forward as quickly as possible while staying alert about what's happening behind you. It is really challenging. So yeah, and the fact that the pack is still this heavy, we haven't seen a race like this. where the medals are still very much in contention for any swimmer from 1st to 10th place. I don't think we've seen a race like this year, Will.
No, I mean, I'm even starting to think when the last time we saw a race like this really was, because, I mean, even the way that the races were unfolding at the start of last year, Moesha was sort of starting to show the form that she's really developed into throughout the back end of last year and into the start of this year. So, yeah, the last time I can really remember a race playing out like this, the likes of Leonie Beck in 2023 Fukuoka World Champs, where Chelsea Gubecka did a lot of the work that day in amongst the likes of Katie Grimes as well, and then Leonie Beck ultimately sprinting down the final straight to claim gold in the women's 10K. That's the last time that I can see it sort of developing the way that it is. But one point I did want to sort of mention, because it's an important one to keep in mind. Whilst we haven't necessarily seen Moesha take an outright sprint win, she is the fastest in the water as it currently stands over the 1500, the 800 and the 400 meter distance. So when it comes down to that sprint effort, you know, no one is faster than Moesha Johnson. She's on the pool team for Australia, which is an exceptionally hard thing to do, especially in the women's ranks. So I mean, it's got everything. As you look at that head-on shot there, Alice, who would have thought that 5.5 laps into the women's race, there would be such an incredible depth of athlete sitting near the front?
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about. This is what I'm actually really excited that Moesha's been put in this position, because it's going to force her to do something different with her open water swimming tactics. And I think from that will become unlocked a different Moesha for next year, where she's like, actually, you know, I trust myself, I back myself to put myself on the podium in any conditions, whether I have to deal with a sprint finish or whether I'm going to create that gap and be able to swim away from everybody and just open up a crazy large lead. I think this is one of those places where we'll be like, okay, yeah, she's going to be able to do it. And I think they're really shifting now. This looks really fast. It will be interesting to see if there has been if anybody has been dropped, or if the pack is starting to thin out into a line. But, you know, we still see Ginevra tucked in on Moesha's feet, and Ginevra will be very happy with this moment, but also aware that she's got potentially Capone, her teammate of Italy, sat in behind her.
Yeah, that would be all the confidence you need to see your teammate behind. You know that that's not going to create any additional pressure rather on the overall title, because Capone not really in the mix for the top 10 overall. So if this is Moesha, this is very early out to go. It's also a bit hard to tell as they swim into this headwind now. The water's moving a lot faster than what they would be swimming with the headwind, so it can sometimes be deceptive as to the pace. But even looking at the stroke rate that Moesha is currently undertaking, Alice, it's a bit hard to tell. It looks like a little bit of redness starting to come into the shoulders of Moesha Johnson out in front as we now turn to second place, which is of course Ginevra Taddeucci.
Yes, definitely. You know, this is where you start to see the effort really coming out from the swimmers. The heat from all of them, it's being held in the shoulders. It's going through some hard work, and you're seeing, I think it's Capone of Italy climbing up onto the hip of Ginevra. And, you know, for Ginevra is kind of like, it is what it is. Like, you know, I'm still in this position. I'm still in a really strong position from the other World Cups, that as long as I get on the podium and there's not too much of a gap between myself and Moesha, I'll be in good form. But, you know, Moesha's really created an opportunity here for there to be a lot of threat placed in onto Ginevra's lead.
No, that's once again a great breakdown of exactly how the race is playing out. You know, I mean, this is almost what we've seen every time we've been racing, at least since Paris, or even in Paris. It was Moesha leading the way, Ginevra in second, and then of course Joan van Roendel sitting in third, who ultimately came around and stole the win. I did do some background research, Alice. The last time that I saw a sprint finish like this was of course this race last year, where Ana Marcela Cunha actually took the win ahead of Vivian Jean-Blut and Leonie Beck in third position, Sharon Van Ruendale in fourth, Caroline Juice in fifth, Bettina Fabian in sixth. So, yeah, I mean, this venue really has only ever provided sprint finishes, and I would not be surprised if we see that again. But it looks like Moesha Johnson is really committing to this. We can't see exactly what sits in fourth, but this looks like a deliberate move. And if so, congratulations to Ginevra Taddeucci to oh no, there we see the rest of the pack. We're still on for the sprint finish.
Yeah, I think I swear I don't know what Marisha's trying to think. Do I kind of like slow down and let everything get eaten up? Do I let it bunch up? But then at the same time, she knows she needs to kind of take home that win. And you see Anna Marcela Cunha in there fighting hard, looking really good and strong. The French swimmers next to her, and then moving up, you've got Angela Martinez, Claudia Tarshevitz. Oh, having a great. She looks fantastic. Wow. She's like striking. She's got a beautiful stroke, Claudia. There, she's doing really, really well. You can see kind of the um, the confidence in her swimming there. Looks really, really impressive. And she's moving past Linda Caponi at the moment and looking to find the feet of Ginevra. And then who knows if she keeps that speed up, potentially looking to challenge for the first place. But Ginevra's looking to close that door, just moving over slightly. But it's still very much on, as you said, Will.
That is right. There are so many athletes in contention, but you're so correct. It's a swim for the ages here for Tarsowitz, but not necessarily surprising. We've seen it come out in other formats, as we talked about earlier in the broadcast, but yet to see it at a World Cup level, the commitment this late into the race. But I still think that, we've turned through the first four laps in relatively comfortable pace, so all the big names sit comfortably, and as we see here, Ginevra Taddeucci just trying to pull up again alongside Moesha Johnson. I look at the shoulders there of Moesha Johnson, Alison. I don't know if it's the coloration of the camera, but it looks like there's a lot of heat coming out of those.
Yeah. This is it is a good spot because you will know her. You know what to expect to look for, and potentially if you're thinking, oh, okay, she might be a bit more potentially cooked than she'd hope or than she'd like. But at the same time, I think this is shaping out to be the race that we were hoping for and we were expecting, and that Marisha actually needs if she wants to take home the win. And this is what's so challenging about it. You've seen Lisa Powell of Monaco back in it again, up at the far side, and Ginevra is saying like, hey, okay, like, if I'm happy to take this lead at the same time too. And Claudia on her feet. Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, I don't. This is one of those races where the mistake hasn't happened, or hasn't been forced for Marisha to be able to capitalise on. So at the moment, it's kind of like a toing and throwing of, we've all put in this effort. Who's going to take the lead going into the last lap?
And I guess what we're seeing here is exactly how you called it after lap one. Alice, that incredibly high stroke rate from Taddeucci still coming to fruition, and she looks sensational. Just as you mentioned at the start in lap one, there's not necessarily the same change of speed as what we see with some of those fast finishers like De Valdez, like Martinez, like Cunha, but the ability to just sit at what would be about a 107 per 100 pace out in front of this race just drains a lot of those athletes, and you can see the impact that it's having. So I think here, if we can see Cunha within 10 seconds, if we can see, I reckon 10 seconds is the max gap that we will be able to see on the fifth and final time they go through the feeding pontoon. So we'll keep an eye again on the lead of the race between Johnson and Taddeucci. Keep an eye on the left-hand side as well as we get ready to see the scores. Johnson leads through ahead of Taddeucci, Tarsovitz, Caponi, currently sitting in fourth, Didardez, Cunha, and still ticking through. You're talking 3 seconds gap from sixth to first. That is very easily achievable down the final straight. Pooh in there for Monaco. Juiz 3.3 seconds back. So, I mean, you're talking still all these athletes in contention. The one that we're going to keep an eye on here is in 10th position, Alice, Leah Boy. She is sensational down that final straight.
Yeah, I was getting a little bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie. When the names weren't coming up fast enough, I was like, "Oh, where's Leah at? Where's Leah at?" But no, I definitely have my eyes on her. This is her playground. This is where she thrives. You know, we saw it. I think in the 3K knockout in Ibiza, where she did just get in and she went, and she has that speed. And you know, when she's been sat in all of this and been able to like pull herself through and create these opportunities for herself, stay within touching distance, and you know you're looking up, and I was kind of this swimmer as well. You're looking up and kind of licking your lips because you have people to swim past, and she's fantastic at doing that. She can find those opportunities. I think we've already seen her move up a few places from the 10th position, and up at the front at the moment we have seen Claudia Tarshevitz of Poland take that lead, which is fantastic. I'm very, very excited for her. This is fantastic for me. Like, whatever the result is for her, what a year to break onto the scene. What a way to make a statement for yourself. And you know, looking towards LA, she's definitely going to be one of those names where we'll be speaking about her and singing her praises. So really excited to see that from her. But then in behind her, Moesha Johnson, and Moesha's probably quite happy by this potentially. Somebody else to do the work. The fact that it's not Geneva in front of her, and can kind of control that from the position she sat in.
Yeah, this is, I mean, what you don't want to do if you're Johnson is if you're leading the race, all the attention really sits on you. Now that Tarsewich has taken the lead, the attention is split between Johnson and Tarsewich. And I say that because obviously Johnson still contains a lot of the energy of the pack as the current world champion. A lot of eyes would be on her, but equally so, you have to keep an eye on the lead of the race. And what a turn there by Tarsewich. You were on this early, Alice. This is a fantastic, fantastic performance.
Yes, I mean, she's really just gone from strength to strength, driving away here, you know, taking that confidence from the European Cup, knowing that she's capable of this. I've pointed out her name a number of times, I think, you know, coming up the ranks and, you know, just being like, she's got a good, never been on the podium, but got like fourth, fifth, sixth positions. And it's just so exciting for her. And, you know, she's going from strength to strength here. And, you know, really, really striving through. So, this would be really incredible if we can see somebody different on the podium this year. And unfortunately, we see one of our like veterans of the sport with Vivian Jongbloot having to pull out of today's race. So I hope she's okay, and to all of the other swimmers that have had to pull out as well, sincerely hope they're all okay and that we see them back in soon.
Yeah, you're right. The silver medalist from last year's Golfo Aranci stop as well is Vivian Schungblut. So hopefully we do see her back soon in action. I'm sure a lot of athletes keeping an eye on what the 2026 program has in store. But this is a monumental move from Tarsewich out in front now, just really controlling the pace. An interesting move, currently sitting in fourth position. Caponi trying to move up onto the hip here of Taddeucci, and really then opening the door. I think it's hard to pick who that is in sixth position or fifth position. In fact, I think that might be Juiz. But essentially, if those two can move up onto the hip of Taddeucci, it opens up what could be a very exciting final straight. But equally so, sitting in second overall on the series total is Angela Martinez, and she's just outside of the screen as it currently stands. But Alice, the further we get into this race, the more likely we are to see some fireworks down that final straight.
Yeah, definitely. This isn't over until the touchpad has been touched. I'm not making any calls. I normally make a call, but I'm not making any calls because this really can go anywhere. You know, we've got Leah Boy sat in within there, who has some great finishing speed. There are some really, really fast and fantastic. You know, of course, Moesha Johnson is one of those athletes as well who I'd love to see her put down a good, strong sprint finish, and potentially, um, oh, who uh, who have we got on screen at the moment? Well, I'm trying to pick out the white cap, but I can't quite make it out.
I think that's Juiz currently sitting in fifth place. No doubt that the lead is, as it was on screen there, Claudia Tarsewitz of Poland leading the way. So second is Moesha Johnson. Third there is, of course, Ginevra Taddeucci. Fourth currently is Caponi. I believe that's Juiz in fifth position there. But equally, I think I saw that German cap in sixth with Leah Boy, the main mover, alongside Rita as well. So it is a French hat in 5th position. Alice, it's
Mhm.
again,
Mhm.
like you can look at these strokes, right? Like they are swimming fast, but no one looks exceptionally uncomfortable, which means that at least there's another gear, if not 2 gears, to come to finish off this race.
Yeah, and I'm especially looking towards the back of the pack for that energy to be coming now. You know, Claudia Toshevich is really doing fantastic here. I think it's going to be hard to get past her, but at the same time, there's still some good amount of meters to go. They've got a couple turns here. They've got 2 turns until they're gunning for that straight line into the finish, and so much can happen on those turns if you get a really good positioning, if a mistake's made at the front, and we're actually seeing kind of a separation and a pull around from. Is that Ginevra? Is that Ginevra Will? Is that Ginevra Will?
Yeah, that looks like it is Taddeucci just really committing hard to this separate line, knowing that if she's going to win this race, she's going to have to commit from a kilometre out, and that's exactly what she's doing here. This is a very brave move from the Italian. As we've mentioned time and time throughout the broadcast, Alice, we're yet to see an Italian home win here in Golfo Aranci, and Ginevra not wanting to leave any questions unanswered as she shoots forward now and swims her own line and almost looks like she's tucked back in now against Moesha Johnson. And honestly, we're going to see those moves happen almost all the way to the finish from here on out.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's going to be a game of cat and mouse, back and forth, to and fro, and this is where you're kind of checking your energy systems, trying to understand where is your body at? Where can I potentially relax in some way? Not quite. You know, relax is relative in this sense, but you know, where can I conserve is the right word I'm looking for. Where can I conserve a little bit of energy to make sure I still have that burst at the end? Because you know that's coming, you know that's happening. You know, Claudia is a very, very fast and very great swimmer, but at the same time, she's a bit of an unknown for everybody. You know, we haven't seen her lead like this. Moesha has never kind of seen her as one of the swimmers to look to who's going to be leading and punching through. And with that comes the unknown, comes a threat, comes a volatility, which is hard to predict and hard to control. So from there, you need to make sure that you're getting everything right at this point. You can't make any mistakes, and that goes across for every athlete that we're seeing on screen at the moment.
That's it. How it plays out is up for grabs. Obviously, Tarcevic leads the way. She's done a great job to maintain control on this opening straight of the final lap. Behind her, currently sitting in second, moving on to her hip now, is Taddeucci of Italy. In third is Moesha Johnson of Australia, just on the inside of the course. Then Caponi, I believe that's Swiss. And then behind are our 2 German athletes in Rita and Boy. So in there, amongst the mix, will be Maria Di Valdez, Anna Marcela Cunha, Lisa Poo, all looking to be in the overall title fight. So, oh, this is exciting racing. The door is opening once again here for Ginevra Taddeucci.
Yeah, it's been really back and forth, hasn't it? It's been like you take the lead, and kind of trying to play around with your energy as much as possible. Conserve what you can in those moments. Let somebody else do the work, and like try and get that engine revving back up again. And you know, you see Moesha Johnson here, sat in third position currently, looking to strive forward. But I think just seeing more people come past her at the moment, and I'm kind of getting flashbacks from what happened to Marc-Antoine Olivier a little bit towards the end of the men's race. He was a little bit further back than Moesha Johnson, but it's just difficult when you kind of find yourself in these positions where you're pincered, you're caught on both sides, and you know you want to find opportunity and space, but it just can't quite happen for you. So this turn is going to be crucial, and I think we can see a gap. We might see a gap open up between first and second and third place.
Yeah, this is where it starts to get interesting. As you said, pinch is the perfect way to describe how you go around those cans. It was a great turn in there from Caponi for Italy. That was sensational. Really carried some great momentum, and ultimately, this is a very dangerous position here for Taddeucci. She's really committing to this straight. She knows that she needs to close the door here on the last lap. Moving through, how's that Leah Boy as well now into a very clear 6th position there, Alice. And behind her, Di Valdez.
Yeah, Yeah, Leah Boy is, I think so. If you want to pick out Leah Boy, she's currently behind the Italian swimmer on the top of your screen. That is Linda Caponi, and then behind her, we believe that is Leah Boy. So, looking really strong and comfortable right now. But look at what's happening here with Taddeucci and Tarshevitz, and it's really opening up that doors for Linda Caponi to tuck in and get into that third place. And who else is that going to help behind her? Leah Boy. So, this is the chaos that certain athletes like Leah can kind of capitalize off of. And Moesha Johnson, she's sat in there, she's tucked in, and next to her, Caroline Juice of France. So it's kind of all over the place at the moment whilst these lines are being taken. But the door keeps opening further and further for Leah Boy as you can see her kind of moving up into contention with fourth position.
It's certainly starting to heat up here. The final turn can now. Alice for 2025. A good turn there from Taddeucci, and she's really utilized that momentum to try and pull away from the field. There is absolute chaos ensuing behind. Tarsovic, even with a little bit of a gap to Caponi. Oh, I think, there has been one athlete who's been consistently exceptional in every race that this year, and that is, of course, the leader of this race currently, Ginevra Taddeucci.
Yeah, I mean, the consistency that she's put out, she's very strong. She's been formidable in making that happen. Her stroke rate, you see her at the front of the race driving and pushing through. We had the foreshadowing of it at the start of the race with that first lap. She was really going through, a 13-second gap, like regardless of whether she stopped and turned off. A 13-second gap is very, very impressive. And Claudia Tasha, it's tucked in behind there. Linda Caponi behind again. And I think, is that Leah Boy up in fourth now, potentially? Will
Yeah, she's storming through the field is Leah Boy, which, as we look through the rankings as well, Leah Boy is exceptionally well placed overall, currently sitting in fifth position. Oh, sorry, equal fourth position with Caroline Juice. They are 250 points behind Moesha Johnson, so it's going to take a tall task to come over the top of Johnson to get into that top three. But Leah Boy wanting to assert herself as that fourth place finisher. But how's this top three? I mean, we've done our predictions all year, and there is no way we would have predicted Taddeucci, Tarsovic and Caponi top three. This is utter madness to finish off the women's 10 kilometers.
yeah, yeah. I love this though. That third place is contested, very very well contested by Leah Boy there. So she can really see her just continually climbing up, and she's one of those people who thrives off of this. This is what she loves. She loves coming past people, and I think she's going to catch the feet of Tarshevitz very soon. But you're so right. This is something I couldn't have predicted, and Tarshevitz, I'm just so excited for her. This is great for Ginevra to know that she can do this herself. She doesn't need the feet of Moesha to make it happen. She can do this herself potentially. And we see Leah Boy there, kind of take out that third position from Linda Caponi and potentially climbing onto the feet of Tarshevitz. But these two at the front look like they're in strong form, and Tarshevitz is not going to let Ginevra get away from her.
No, she certainly is not. And the Polish athlete knows that what is on the line here is a potential maiden World Cup title. So she's fighting exceptionally hard, just trying to go on either side. But ultimately, you look at Caponi just battling back there with Leah Boy, and moving through as well is De Valdez, I believe, just trying to storm home down this final straight. But all this is creating is utter chaos out in front, and ultimately it looks like the win is looming large here for Italy's very own Ginevra Taddeucci.
Yeah, and this will be the first Italian win in these waters, and what a better athlete to do it than Ginevra Taddeucci of Italy, taking home a collection of silver medals from the World Championships just gone. And amazing to see her go from strength to strength and potentially take home this win this for this World Cup, and then she'd get the series lead as well. It looks like the series lead might be potentially tied up for her, and something have to go quite seriously wrong for her to lose that. So on the line for her currently is the win for today, but also 50,000 US dollars for that overall series lead. And what a way to close it out. What a way to win. What a way to say, I can do this by myself. I don't need the feet of another swimmer to make these swims happen. I can get in and I can win.
Yeah, oh, it's so inspirational to see the way that it's played out all year, Alice. And I mean, I can't imagine a better season than what we've seen from the women, especially, and it's coming to fruition once more down this final straight.
Yeah, certainly. You're so right in terms of the inspiration. I think it's knowing that the style of race that you want to swim is achievable. We've seen that with Moesha, for the likes of Ginevra and Felisa Powell, for example. They want it to be fast, they want it to be hot. And I think seeing Moesha come in and showcase, yeah, actually, this is doable. And knowing that it's possible, I think Ginevra has been able to take that energy and then transfer it into her own swim and her own style in this race and is making something very special happen. And, Claudia Toshevitz here as well, biding her time, creating opportunity for herself and getting into a fantastic position. And, it's not over till it's over. She's properly on Ginevra's hip here. And this is where that speed that we've been talking about, but it's opening the door for Leah Boy. Leah Boy is moving up and up. And, if these two start getting a little bit too close to each other, start taking their water, it will be problematic for them going into the finish funnel.
This is exceptional from the young Polish athlete. Again, I mean, we can do our predictions, but ultimately they mean absolutely nothing when you have youngsters like this that come in, produce performances like what we're seeing from Claudia Tassovitz in the white cap at the bottom of your screen here. But you're right, Alice, the door is open for Leah Boy. She is exceptional in these circumstances. She is the fastest of the three over the last 300 meters. Exactly how that plays out, we're going to see. But Tassovitz looks so strong out in front.
Yeah, she does. She looks absolutely fantastic. We've seen it's one of those swims where she hasn't came flying past Taddeucci. It's been slow. It's been methodical in the terms of taking an inch by inch to come past her and to get up on her shoulder. And now, Ginevra's looking over at her thinking, okay, don't know if I've potentially got another gear to go to. I'm hoping she doesn't either. Let's see who can get our fingers on the touchpad first. But here again, Leah Boy is just really charging through, and she's looking to take potentially the left-hand side of Ginevra here. I think if I was Leah, I'd tuck in behind Ginevra as much as possible and kind of take that draft and speed past her like you do in Mario Kart. If you've ever done that, in Mario Kart. But yeah, it's just take those opportunities, and I think she's really opened the door for herself well here, Leah.
Yeah, she's given herself every opportunity as they come down now, approaching the final finish shoot for the final time in 2025. The race is now opening to three. Leah Boy doing exactly as Alice Deering called, using that left-hand spring shot forward. So Tassovitz sits at the bottom of the screen in the Polish white cap. In the middle currently still sits the series leader, the world title on the line here for Ginevra Taddeucci, and both of them now finding another gear to just separate ever so slightly away from our third place swimmer, Leah Boy. But you can see once again, Boy just putting her fingertips in the screenshot there. Tassovitz and Ginevra Taddeucci come together and open the door once again for the German on the outside of the duo. So here we go down the final chute for the final time in 2025. The hometown hero versus the rising star versus the fastest finisher in the race, and it looks like Ginevra Taddeucci has found another gear. The hometown hero, the Italian flag flying high on the Sardinian coast. Ginevra Taddeucci has controlled this race from start to finish. A masterclass in composure and pacing. Taddeucci comes down to claim not just the victory, but the overall crown of the World Aquatics Open Water World Cup title for 2025. Taddeucci touches first to win in Italy. Taddeucci sealing the series, crowning on home water. What a way to finish the season. Ginevra Taddeucci, the World Cup champion, and what a moment for the Italian fans that are here to never forget. Ginevra Taddeucci 2025 belongs to you. Claudia Tarsovitz gets in second. Leah Boy rounds out the top three with an exceptional final straight. Looks like Caroline Juiz has swum into fourth position, and we'll see where it goes from there. And take a bow, Ginevra Taddeucci. You are the 2025 champion.
Oh, she did fantastic there, didn't she? She did so well. So well deserved. Her resilience, her tenacity, her belief in herself as well to make this happen and not to need anybody else, not to have to go and find Marisha and go, oh, okay, I'll stick on you. She's done so fantastically well. She's so well deserved. And you can really see what this means to her. You could see when she touched the finish pad, like she did a little celebration in herself. And I love that this is a fantastic shot in this moment. You've got the series winner from 2025 and the series winner from 2024 in Ana Marcela Cunha, saying well done to each other and congratulating themselves. And they're two names that we'll be speaking about in open water swimming for many years to come.
The first two names on that inaugural World Cup Series trophy as well. Couldn't imagine a more fitting way for it to play out. The most consistent athlete really since the introduction of this sport to the Olympic Games, and the most consistently hard-working athlete, the swimmer that really leads most of every race that she's in, is Ginevra Taddeucci, the 2025 World Cup Series champion. What a way to, close any questions that anyone had, including obviously myself. She hasn't won a World Cup stop ever, and she does it to claim the title. That is pure dominance from Ginevra Taddeucci, Alice. That in Italy as well. I mean, talk about the plot.
Yeah, she gave us a show. She wrote the storyline, she wrote the script, she executed it, and she made it happen. I'm in awe of what she's been able to achieve this season. It's really something special. A string of medals at the World Championships. I think she got 4 silvers at the World Championships. I'm sorry, I will check that, but I remember going away and thinking, yeah, Ginevra was like I know we keep talking about what Marisha's been able to achieve and do, but what Ginevra does with it as well is so impressive. So huge congratulations to her. And just moving down from that as well, Claudia Toshevitz, wow. What a season she has had, like springboarding off the back of fantastic race just a few weeks ago in Croatia for the European Cup, and now getting a fantastic silver medal. How exciting for Poland! How exciting for them moving forward, looking at the European Championships next year and the World Championships to come, and then the Olympic Games. I can't wait to see what more she's going to put out. And then Leah Boy, she knows how to get onto a podium. She knows how to make that happen for herself, especially when the pack is heavy. She'll find those spaces, she'll find those opportunities. In 10th position going into that last lap and finishes in 3rd place. Truly fantastic swimming. I think behind that, Caroline Juiz, again, she's currently sat in 4th position on the women's lead, actually. So this could potentially put her, I can't do the maths on it quick enough, but depending on how Martinez and Johnson did, she could potentially move up as well. So I think Martinez did finish in 5th position from what I saw. There's definitely a Spanish cap on there. So I'm just getting some confirmation of that now.
Wow. So there it is. The top 10 across the line. Ginevra Taddeucci, Tarsovitz, and Boy, as Alice mentioned, but really so many storylines all the way down. And, arguably one of the biggest storylines, no Moesha Johnson in the top 10. The first time we've seen that since, I guess, you have to go back a long time. Not even last year did it happen where she wasn't in the top 10.
Yeah, we haven't seen a race without her on the podium since Hong Kong. Was that the last race we did? Or definitely Neon. Certainly Neon. Yeah. So, well, for whatever reason, potentially a tough day for her. Not the result we're typically used to seeing from her, but still at the same time, she put on a great show for us. She clearly had a plan and execution. Didn't quite work out for her, but this is, I really hope we're far from done with seeing with what Marisha Johnson can do, and I'm sure we are very excited to see her back in and dominating the race again soon.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the last time Setable last year coming off the Olympic Games, and the race after that, of course, being Hong Kong, which she did manage to take gold in that one. So I'm sure, as you said, Alice, like it's very normal for athletes to take breaks, and you know, credit to all the athletes that have battled through that 10K there. But what a sensational result for Italy. We've talked about it all through the broadcast, all through the lead into Golfo Aranci, and a nation that is so incredibly proud of what they've produced in the open water. It's so incredibly proud to be represented on the World Cup Series, to take gold on the final individual race of day one on the third year that they've been hosting. And with that, take the series win as well. Like, you really can't paint a better picture. And even if you look at what Taddeucci has achieved thus far in her relatively young career, seven silver medals at World Cups, and this is the first individual gold going her way. So, an incredibly impressive moment. And as we see there, I believe that is Luna, our junior champion from Finland, across the line as well. So I don't think that there was anything that could actually. No, there was nothing that could beat her if she finished the race. Luna Casvio as well. A credit to her to take out the women's junior ranking for 2025 as well, Alice.
Yes, definitely. You know, huge congratulations to her. You know, she's just sitting talking to her team at the moment. I don't know if she quite had the race she wanted by the looks of it. Body language seemed a bit down, but at the same time, I really hope she gets a chance to reflect and, you know, give herself a pat on the back for all the hard work that she's put into these races this season. This is hard racing, you know, mentally, physically, emotionally, it's draining. You're going around for 2 hours, going through these highs and these lows of having some good moments and some not so good moments, and trying not to get in your head about it. So to all of the swimmers, huge congratulations to them today. Just saw a really nice high five from a Czech swimmer and potentially Argentina. I'm sorry, I can't pick out that cat, but we're just getting a an interview with Taddeucci now. Potentially don't have sound for it. We'll see if we can fix that. But great to see how happy and smiley she is. You know, giving a wave to the home audience is
I'm very happy
always
for
fantastic
this
to
race
see.
because it's my first victory in this year and in the World Cup and in the overall. And for me, it's very difficult race, but I'm very happy.
I asked you about the race earlier and you said it was tough, but you won the sprint lap, you've won the overall title. It's been a very good day, hasn't it?
Yeah. I thought in the first lap for the sprint and the fourth lap I thought for help Moesha, and I hope for help.
Let's take you back to Italian. What's it like to swim in front of your home crowd? All of these people cheered hugely when you crossed the line. What does that feel like?
I don't know. Sorry, I'm so tired.
Let's hear it for our race winner, Ginevra Taddeucci.
Allora la rubo anch'io, Alan. Vieni qui, Gine. Facciamolo più forte l'applauso per Ginevra Taddeucci. Ti rubo 30 secondi, Gine, il tuo saluto al pubblico di Golfo Aranci che ti ha seguito dalla tua vittoria dello sprint lap fino all'ultima bracciata, dove l'atleta della Polonia ti ha reso le cose un po' difficili, ma comunque vai a raggiungere finalmente la medaglia d'oro nella World Cup. Soprattutto il tuo nome verrà inciso sul premio overall. Una stagione clamorosa con il poker di argenti al mondiale. Come ci si sente?
So there we have it, Alice, the winner of the title, Ginevra Taddeucci. What a moment it is, as we heard there, a moment for Italian swimming to be in consideration for the overall title. They are exceptional, and Taddeucci really stood up to the moment today with a lot of the pressure being on her, as we said, with Marc-Antoine Olivier, that the race was his to lose, and the same was set for Taddeucci, and she more than delivered her first ever title in the World Cup Series, and also her win at home. So let's look back at some of the moments that were now, Alice.
Yeah, it's really shaped up to be a fantastic race. And I think just the statement that Ginevra put down from the start was just something like impossible to ignore. Look at that gap she created. You know, she was clearly on good form and carrying that through. And, you know, sat in behind her was the American with Mariah Dennigan. I think she might have faded away a little bit towards the end, but always great to get in, get that experience, and know what it's like to sit at the front and, you know, try and make things happen. I think this is like the biggest statement of both races today was Ginevra just taking a 20-second rest after or 15-second rest after her her storming first lap.
Se sono ancora in onda. Sì, in onda.
And we've got a shot of how we haven't typically.
Yeah, that's it, Alice. I mean, you know, credit to the TV crew as well, producing today's show to bring those insights into the spectators around the world. We saw so many athletes making decisions on camera, which was exceptional to see. Just the, I guess, more than physical toll that this race can create.
Yes, definitely. You know, I think one of my favorite shots from that was the was David Bethlehem trying to decide if he's going to hop over when Krzysztof Rosowski was, you know, taking that strong line in the men's 10. And here, a lovely shot of what Lisa Powell was doing up at the front there, creating that snaking effect. You know, trying to like thin out the pack as much as possible. Was it difficult? Wasn't able to execute and thin it out in the way that I think that she was intending to. But shaped up to be a really, really challenging and tough race. And you know, Ginevra coming home with a strong field, and Leah Boy tucked in behind there, and then just in front of her was Claudia Toshvitz. So really, really fantastic racing.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you watch the race back, these key moments that become more so prevalent, because you're like, oh, of course that led to this. And actually, you know, credit where credit's due, Alice. You've been exceptional at calling those moments all year as they sort of start to happen. You've got that almost third eye for exactly how the race is playing out. And I guess, you know, that comes from experience of racing at this level. So I honestly, like, if you go back and have the opportunity to watch some of the races throughout the year, there have been some exceptional early predictions from Alice Deering. I'm sure a lot of bookmakers around the world would be taking what you say as an opportunity to change the odds of the race.
Oh, thanks, Will. That's really sweet. Yeah, no, I think it's just like being in those situations myself and like understanding what it's like. And I was one of those things I always knew what it took to get onto the podium. You know, it's hard work. You know, the kind of mindsets and the tactics which you see athletes like Sharon, like Marisha, like Ginevra putting in and turning out, and just yeah, respecting it. And I'm really grateful that I'm able to relay this to everybody and enjoy with it too. So great finish, and just shout out to Leah Boy for climbing up that ladder as well, but also Claudia Toshvitz really putting in a hard effort and making Ginevra work for it. But ultimately the day stands with Ginevra, Italian champion in her home waters and champion of the world for this year's World Cup Series.
It's truly exceptional. I think you know, the momentous occasion that this is only going to be one that grows in stature as the legend that is Ginevra Taddeucci continues to develop her skills. Of course, we will stick around for the medal presentation of both the men's and the women's 10 kilometers, as well as the presentation for the overall series leader, the junior series leader, and the sprint lap winner from today's men's and women's race. But Alice, just a very quick one before we break for the medals. I guess if we're looking back at the World Cup series that's been this year, what is the #1 moment for you?
Wow. Oh, well, that is, you put me on the spot there, guys. Normally Will gives me a little like, oh, I'm gonna ask you this, but he's really put me on the spot here. My favorite moment, um, oh man, this is gonna showcase how messy I am. Ibiza. I think the men's race in Ibiza with that chaos that ensued at the end, that is very much etched in my mind of like, this is like this was like open water swimming. This is how chaotic it can be. This is how difficult it is. This is how the athletes really can contend with each other. So it might not be my favorite moment, but it's my strongest moment in my memory, if that makes sense. I'll be talking about that Ibiza final 300 meters for the rest of my commentating career. But what about you, Will? What do you think?
Yeah, sorry for the stitch up there, but appreciate the quick feet in order to answer it. It's, I guess, once again, a testament to the professional that you are, Alice. I guess from my end, equally so, a moment that I'll be talking about for the rest of my commentary career. Florian Wellbrock in Sommer Bay after that win in the 10 kilometers where he rolled onto his back and there was a photo of the finish chute with no one in it except for the great German that won that race. Just some incredible foreshadowing for what was to come at Singapore's World Championship. So equally so, incredible moments, not even touching on what the women's race has provided us this year with so many superstars racing in, including Angela Martinez, who took the home gold in Ibiza. Now Ginevra Taddeucci takes the home gold here in Golfo Aranci. So as we said, bear with us as we get ready for the medal presentation of both the men's and the women's 10 kilometers, as well as the presentation, the overall series leader. Plenty of action still to come here in Golfo Aranci and another day of racing here. I'm Will Rollo, joined once again by Alice Deering. Now, bear with us as we move to the medal presentation.
seconds ahead of the touch of...
Sono tutte e quattro, vero? Se sono ancora in onda. Sì, sei in onda.
Vicinissime, si sta per concludere quindi il secondo dei 6 giri di gara previsti. Lose the pole that leads Taddeucci in second after going through first in the first lap, and Johnson, the world champion, inside the top 3.
Dalla top 10 e quindi fuori dal conquistare punti utili a scalare la classifica, mentre quindi
With the entire 10-kilometer season, Western Wilson and Co. is ahead in
Philosophy. A freak like me just needs infinity.
Si va a concludere la 10 km femminile e va a toccare in prima posizione l'italiana Ginevra Taddeucci. Le protagoniste della 10 km femminile, Ginevra Taddeucci, che va a coronare un altro... Signore e signori, diamo il benvenuto sul palco alla cerimonia di
So it looks like we'll be heading now to the medal presentation once again. As we said, this is of course for the men's 10 kilometers title and the women's 10 kilometer title. We'll start off with the men's 10 kilometer title, and as we throw our minds back to this race, what a moment it was, Alice, here in Golfo Aranci.
Yeah, we were definitely spoiled with so much action across both the men's and the women's races. But yeah, moving back to the men's race, such fantastic opportunity seeing David Bethlehem take that out, and looking forward to celebrating his first time on top of the podium at a World Cup series individually.
Yeah, individually, I'm sure one of many to come. And Alice as well, just paying our respects to our delegates presenting today's medals, of course. This event, the third time it's been on the World Cup Series in Golfo Aranci, and it wouldn't happen without the support of those men to the left of your screen there. So very much thank you to those delegates and to all delegates that really support this incredible sport around the world.
Yes, you're so right. There's so much effort across the board that goes into making these competitions happen, whether it's the host nation, the host group making that happen, the delegates, and of course the athletes themselves. So, seeing and getting to celebrate one of them now in Dario Verani, getting a fantastic bronze medal for Italy, and welcoming out his fellow competitor Logan Fontaine to take home his silver medal.
The strong boys. This is what we've been aiming for all year, Alex. Dario Verani, Logan Fontaine, a couple of the best biceps on the World Cup Series, but ultimately it's gone to a very different swimmer that's on top of the podium, one of the rising stars that we've seen over the last 4 years. David Bethlehem steps atop of the podium for the very first time individually at the World Cup Series, but that is a very classy podium, and I didn't back myself for the first time this entire World Cup Series by not putting the strong boys on the podium in my predictions, but they have delivered here in Golfo Aranci.
Yes, you're so right. Actually, you always you've got a soft spot for the stronger boys, the ones who get through and kind of make it happen with their strength and with their resilience in that way. So yeah, shout out to them, shout out to Logan Fontaine and Verani, and then also David Bethlehem making things happen in a different style and a different way, and taking home that win today.
There he is, proudly standing atop of the podium for the first time, as we've mentioned, individually, and he will get the honor and privilege, deserved right to hear his national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for respecting the anthem of Hungary. Make some noise for your medal winner.
Signore e signori, l'applauso fortissimo per gli atleti su World Cup Golfo Aranci 2025.
There they are, that incredible podium that is in Golfo Aranci. David Bethlehem, Logan Fontaine, Dario Verani, incredible athletes, incredibly fast when it counted, and ultimately rewarded on this iconic venue. Alice, what a swim it was, the men's 10 kilometers.
Yeah, for the final race of the year, we were really treated to something fun and something special there. They all did really well, performing and showing up when it matters. And there were some of the more difficult storylines that happened from there. With Marc Antoine Olivier not quite managing to take home that overall lead, and we see that handed to Logan Fontaine instead. And I'm sure we'll get to celebrate him winning that in a second after we get into the women's 10K podium.
For now, though, we stay with the medals as we get ready to present our podium for the women's 10 kilometres as well. And we've just spoken about it, Alice, but what a moment it was for Italy and Swimming Italy, really, as they get ready to present that gold medalist. The first time we've seen an individual gold given out here to an Italian swimmer. And you couldn't imagine a more deserving athlete than the winner of this race, Ginevra Taddeucci.
Yeah, Ginevra, she's been working hard and hard at the front of the race for a number of years now, and it's so fantastic to see her take home that first win after she's been on the podium so many times. And it's really great that we get to celebrate with that. But on top of that, series winner, taking home $50,000 as well. What a fantastic way to round out the open water swimming season for her.
No, you're so true. You're so true. It has been such an incredible result all year round for Ginevra Taddeucci, and just the cherry on top here in Golfo Aranci. As we mentioned, 4 silver medals at the most recent World Championships. A performance only eclipsed by the great man Florian Wellbrock with 4 golds, and truly deserved it to be representing here in our home country with that gold medal going her way. A lot of hard work going into that result. So we once again pay our respects to the delegates that support this event through World Aquatics and the supporting bodies, which you can see on the LED screen there. This sport is on the rise and unapologetically moving forward, and we wouldn't be able to do it without the delegates and sponsors that we can see behind the athletes standing on the podium. So for now, we have a look back, and there it is, the bronze medalist Alice Learboy. She always manages to find her way through in the World Cups.
Yes, she's done so well at, getting in, making things happen for herself. She had a real breakout year last year, is what I would argue, really punching onto the scene, getting onto that podium, and she's been consistent in making that happen again too. So really great showing for her. And then just another breakout swimmer that we have to shout out there is Claudia Tarshevitz of Poland. Amazing swim. First time on the World Aquatic podium, and she has really made something happen for herself here. But the woman for the moment is currently Ginevra Taddeucci of Italy, a very well deserved gold medal and taking home the series lead as well. So huge congratulations to all of our athletes. We've kind of got like a past, present, and future is very unfair to put it, but different levels of experience on across this board. With Leah Boy at the moment, kind of having her breakout year last year and continuing that drive and that energy moving forward, and then moving to Claudia Tarshevitz of Poland, who this is her break. I see this as one of her breakout swims. It's fantastic. Really well done. Had a great swim a couple of weeks ago at a Len Cup, but to back it up on the world stage and take home a fantastic silver medal is incredible. And then finally, we see a veteran of this stage, of this level, of these podiums in Ginevra Taddeucci, making it happen.
We stand now here for the national anthem of Italy. So what a moment
Un
for the
applauso
crowd, and what a
fortissimo, un
moment for
applauso
that
di
athlete.
Golfo
Ginevra
Aranci
Taddeucci
per
stands
il
atop
podio
of
del
the
10
podium
km
here in Golfo
femminile.
Aranci, and
Let's make some
a
noise for
very
your
well-deserved
winners.
champion that is the Italian athlete in the middle of the Polish and German swimmers. A truly spectacular podium, a truly unpredictable podium, but a truly deserved podium as well. As we pause now for photos, Alice, you can't help but admire, I guess, the tenacity and determination of the athletes that stand at the top of the podium to really fight out early in the season.
Yes, you're so right. You know, it's one of those ones where you kind of like stuck in a difficult part where, you know, you've just had the World Championships, you might have taken a break, but there's still so much to be won. You know, the series cup is on the line. The race today is on the line. It's also important and all the more to play for. So great to see such a fantastic effort from our athletes today in making that happen for themselves. And we are very spoiled. We have some more racing to come tomorrow, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a second.
That is so true. A very tough day awaits for the program, but for now we stay in the medal presentation area as we move to our next presentation, I believe, for the sprint laps of today.
I classifiche overall, rimanete con noi perché andremo ad assegnare il premio Overall Tour al miglior atleta del settore maschile e la miglior atleta del settore femminile, Tour 2025 che si conclude qui a Golfo Aranci.
Analysis, we get ready to present this inaugural trophy, such a special trophy that's been introduced the last 2 years of the series. Of course, Ana Marcela Cunha taking the win last year, Marc-Antoine Olivier taking the men's win. It's going to build itself with years and years to come, just how special it is, not only for the athletes, but for their legacy as well. And that looms large here for the two athletes to be presented today.
Yeah, certainly. You know, it's seriously impressive to be able to take home this trophy. You know, as we keep moving forward and open water swimming keeps getting more and more challenging, more and more swimmers giving it a go, and less swimmers retiring. It's becoming a real point of dominance to be able to take home this trophy. So, huge congratulations to Logan Fontaine of France and Ginevra Taddeucci of Italy in making this happen, and we get to celebrate with them very shortly.
And of course, Alice, I thank you to all the fans that are tuning in around the world as it currently is. We've been promoting it all year, but ultimately the show would be nothing without the supporters around the world of these incredible athletes. So a shout out to everyone tuning in wherever you are watching from.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for supporting and, turning out and watching us and this fantastic racing and helping us grow this really beautiful and incredible sport.
And one final shout out, Alice, as we get ready to present this series title. We want to thank all of the team that go into these events, from the likes of the sport manager, Ignacy Vendrell, and his leadership of the administration, working with the Open Water Technical Committee, and of course the chairperson being Sid Cassidy, and his leadership sitting with Ferry Vertman and a number of other committee members that make sure that the sport evolves all the way through to the broadcast team that make sure that these shots get to you wherever you are watching around the world. A lot of people to thank in that regard. Take us too long to go through them all individually, but a big shout out to all the people behind the scenes, Alice.
Yes, you're so right. From whether that's the people, the volunteers on the water, making sure that athletes are safe and looked after, all of the people at marshalling, so much effort, so many hours of effort and time go into making these competitions happen. So we get those opportunities to be fans, to be athletes, and make this magic happen. So yeah, with so many people, and thank you for that, and thank you for your efforts.
Della 10 km del Tour 2025 per la Finlandia. 2025 Junior Female 10 km Tour winner representing Finland, Lona Caspio.
Here is our junior champion
A
for
vincere la
women's,
classifica junior
Luna
maschile
Caspio
della 10
of
km
Finland.
2025
She's
per
been
il
so
Brasile.
consistent
Alla
all year,
2025
so
Junior
happy
Male 10
at
km Tour winner
a lot of the stops,
representing
and
Brazil,
a
Leonardo Van Macedo.
very bright future for Luna, as well as Leonardo Brant de Macedo of Brazil, taking out the men's junior title. Exceptionally consistent as well, pushing forward, and I'm sure the future top 10 not too far away for either of these athletes. And shout out to Brandi Macedo's family as well, who have been very supportive of the broadcast throughout the year and giving us some insight facts into the race. But those are our junior champions, Alice.
Yes, yeah, huge congratulations to both of them, and great to see two nations that, um, well, Brazil with Ana Marcel Cunha, of course, and Vivian Jongbloot and Okimoto back in 2016, but especially on the men's side, haven't seen them as on the podium as much. And of course, Finland, as far as I'm aware, we don't know if we've ever had a Finnish athlete in a position like this. So huge congratulations to both of them, and making a name for themselves and getting this great opportunity and taking home some good money as well. Like really, really well done.
Yeah, every penny earned as well. That's 4 stops that goes into creating that result. I'm sure it would have been very testy down that final straight. You never know with those junior rankings as well exactly how it finishes off. But equally so, talk about testing. What a final we had for both the men's and women's titles, which we'll now present here, Alice.
Yes, get to celebrate with the two winners of this World Cup series for 2025. We had Ana Marcel Cunha and Marc-Antoine Olivier last year taking this home. Neither of them able to retain their title, so we see that being handed on to two new swimmers, two new names on the trophy, and setting up a very exciting prospect for the future for both of these athletes. But they have already established themselves.
Signore e signori, andiamo a premiare la classifica generale overall del Tour World Cup 2025.
So here it is, the World Cup Series leaders, the third place to first, and there was a lot of movement through this all the way through the finish line. Let's give a shout out to our third place finishers, Alice, for both the men's and the women's. In third place, storming home is Leah Boy and Dario Varani for the men.
Oh, that's fitting when they both finished third in this race. But yeah, fantastic from both of them, being so consistent, so dominant, getting on those podiums time and time after again, and great to see them taking home a great third position. And what was that, $25,000 for third position, Will?
Yeah, that's correct. $25,000 goes the way of Varani and Boy. An exceptional result. Varani, of course, second last year on the podium. And this year's second place goes to Angela Martinez of Spain. And, of course, Marc-Antoine Olivier in second as well. The winner from last year has backed it up with an exceptional performance to get back on the podium.
Huge congratulations to him. That is really, really impressive. After quite a tough swim today, I think he finished back in 14th place. But like I said, his consistency earlier throughout the season managed to get him in this position that it was basically impossible to knock him off the podium. So huge congratulations to him and to Angela Martinez as well. Again, showing up in Ibiza and continuing that pressure that she put on and getting a fantastic silver place. Then we see Ginevra Taddeucci already being on top of the podium here today, and going to be joined by Logan Fontaine of France.
And here are our champions as well, Alice on top. Ginevra Taddeucci and Logan Fontaine really could not take a back step this year with the 4 stops equaling a title, and that's what those two did on top of the podium. Exceptional from start to finish. As we've mentioned, $25,000 going to both third place finishers, $35,000 to the second place, and $50,000 apiece between both of those athletes on top of the podium. And Alice, what a trio it is on both the male and female side there. Truly sensational way to round out the 10K series this year.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, I'm just looking across the board now, and we've got a real European dominance here. We've got 2 Frenchmen and 2 Italians on the board. It's really something. And as you said, that French team, as you said, to make that French team, I mean, look at the consistency that you do have to put out. You've got first and second place in the world for the World Cup taken by the French. It's just really, really so impressive. And we are missing the likes of Florian Wellbrock, Ollie Clemens. Haven't seen the showing from Rozovsky, which we would quite want as well. So looking towards next year, I'm sure it's going to be very exciting seeing who can take this out and make that happen. But for the time being, for 2025, we are able to celebrate these 6 fantastic athletes.
That's it, and that's what this is all about, recognizing the moment that is, and that's what makes open water swimming so strong, Alice, is whilst it's certainly all about winning every race that you enter. Every race is exactly that. It is a race from start to finish. There's obviously no consistency in the timing of it, and I guess that's why it makes it so perfect for spectators and fans around the world to enjoy what is truly one of the most competitive sports that we've seen entered into the Olympics.
You are so right. It really brings out tactics, resilience, tenacity, so many incredible qualities which our athletes get to showcase time and time again. And seeing these really cool trophies given to the athletes as well to commemorate their win. And yeah, just again, huge congratulations to all of our winners today, but also to every athlete for taking part.
That's it. We see all 6 athletes now join on the top of the podium. What a moment it is for those athletes happy to take home that prize purse. Round out what has been an exceptional season across 4 stops. As we mentioned, started in the Mediterranean, ended in the Mediterranean. We've been from Solma Bay to Setúbal, now here in Golfo Aranci. We thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow on day 2.